Welcome back to episode 78 with BJJ Brown Belt under the 10th Planet System, Ryan Valley. So I asked Ryan to come on because I like what he was posting on Facebook, and I said, hey, this is a guy I can have a conversation with about everything as we did. We talked BJJ, use of force, policing, our ideas about teaching, etc. But first, this podcast is brought to you by Urban Tactics, Krav Maga, turning lambs into lions. Of course, if you like the podcast or you like our blog, you can support us. Now, how do you do that? You can go to UTKMblog.com. And there's our regular blog with all the ramblings of mine and my students and instructors, mostly mine. And you can hit support us, and you can either donate money directly to us, which, you know, is always appreciated. But if you don't want to give something for nothing, because most humans do not, you can go to UTKMU.com and you can check out our online curriculum. Now, there is a free-to-access place where there's limited stuff, because the idea is you support us by going to the paid section where you can see beginner and novice curriculum at this point. Later on, the advanced curriculum will be there, but there'll probably be some restrictions to getting access to it, as I discussed in the podcast with David Kahn. So you can go to utkmu.com and you can check us out and see the curriculum. If you just want to supplement your current Krav Maga training or supplement your BJJ and just get a perspective from how self-defense Krav Maga approaches it, at least as I teach it, you can go to utkmu.com and get paid access. It's not that expensive. It's like, I don't know, $14 to $20 a month or something. You can cancel anytime. As opposed to the donations, you donate that money on the UTKM blog /support us, and then it's my money. I don't have to give you anything. My money so that I can put out more content, right? The less I have to run around doing other stuff to make money, the more I can put you content. And also a big part of it is I really would like to pay people to help me to do stuff. And until I can do that, my time is limited. So the more you support us, the more content I can put out. And of course, on utkmblog.com/support us, you can go onto the Amazon affiliate links, though I don't know how long I'm going to keep those up there. I may just change the Amazon affiliate links to, hey, these are books I recommend, because there's some books and some other stuff. But I'm not sure how long I'm going to keep the affiliate links. Of course, if anyone wants to sponsor the podcast, that's always cool too. But, you know, as we talk about in the podcast with Ryan, follow the money. And if I can't give you something, why would you give me something? That's just how it is. But really, if you like my content, then support me, I guess. And you can also check out urbantacticskm.com. And when we can accept new students for classes, you can add yourself on the waiting list. But I can do privates right now. I recommend you do it with a friend or a family member. It's much better that way, and you get more bang for your buck that way. You contact us on our website, urbantacticskm.com, for that information, and get on our waiting list if you want regular classes. Whenever we're supposed to be allowed to do that, who the hell knows, because governments are just all over the place with this nonsense, of course, as we talk in the podcast about the inconsistencies. You can check out Urban Tactics on Instagram, Urban Tactics Krav Maga, Twitter, which I don't really use, but Urban Tactics KM, and I think that is Facebook, Urban Tactics Krav Maga. Yeah. Put more content out on Facebook and Instagram. Twitter just rehashes what it is because I don't really like that platform. But you can follow us nonetheless. You get some of our content there if you are a Twitter twat person. Anyway, so back to the podcast with Ryan. It's an interesting one, right? We're all over the place. We talk how we got into martial arts, specifically jiu-jitsu, our philosophies. We're talking about our perspective and what's going on in the world. And I know a lot of people say, hey, you should stay in the lane, shut the fuck up. And I say to you, fuck you, really. Because you're not trying to have a conversation. You're not trying to solve the problems. You're just telling me or him, we're idiots. But you don't want to have a conversation. And actually, that was a large part about what we discussed, is the unwillingness of people to have conversations and realize that both sides might have valid points. You know, COVID, some people on one side have a valid point, the other people also have a valid point. And if you just dig your heels in and pick a side without considering the other side, you're being an ass. And we actually talk quite a long time. This is a 3-hour podcast. We talk a lot about unwillingness of people to discuss and have conversations. But we talk more, policing, use of force, jiu-jitsu, training. And of course, I think Ryan's message at the end is really good. He just wants you to love yourself, and children are the future, and we will all be better. I kind of added in that if we all learn to be better mentors to our youth and to the future, the world will be a better place, because I think our entire millennial generation, even if they had good-meaning, well-meaning parents, had shitty and or no mentors, and now everyone is just a screaming baby, not willing to have a conversation. So if you're not already offended, and you know Ryan, he's a fun guy, or you know me, which that depends what you consider fun. This is a fun one. It's an interesting conversation. So enjoy episode 78. Krav Maga is not just a self-defense system. It is a way of life. Warriors Den is a podcast for Kravists, fighters, martial artists, warriors, politicians, and general citizens. Consider this. The society that separates scholars from its warriors will have its thinking done by cowards and its fighting done by fools. Lucidity. Your host, Jonathan Fader, talks to guests in an open and uncensored format about their fights, their philosophies, and their lives. No topic is taboo, and the conversation may start in one place and end in another. As the quote suggests, you cannot separate the warrior from the politics and the world around them, as a true warrior must be a student in all forms of art and science.
You're listening to The Warriors Den. Brought to you by Urban Tactics Krav Maga, turning lambs into lions.
Welcome back. I am with Ryan Valley, a.k.a. BJJ Tuna.
Hey.
How are you today?
I'm good. Excited to be here. Nervous
Awesome.
At the same time.
Nah, don't be. It's a thing with the internet, Put yourself out there, though, is certainly an intimidating process. I don't know why I do it all the time.
I do it too. And then I regret myself afterwards, but then you just have to put your chest out and champion on and do your thing.
Yeah, so I invited you on because I think you're an interesting person and you put out some interesting thoughts. But before we get into that, let's just start with something that people can connect with, is how you got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and your story, and we can go from there.
Sure. I've just always been a keyboard warrior. We all have a big fan of MMA, and then we all talk tough and stuff in the bars. And finally, I guess something was going on with my life. Broke up with my girlfriend before, so my ex-girlfriend, and just decided to take up jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And then my friend told me to just check out 10th Planet without even knowing what any jiu-jitsu is. And so I went to the 10th Planet in Richmond, shook Nabil's hand, and been hooked ever since.
Nice. Yeah.
Good salesperson there. Shake hand, and then 10 years later, I'm here.
I know, right? Yeah, for those who don't know, could you explain the difference between 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu versus regular
Jiu-Jitsu? Okay, I didn't even know that. I just went into Jiu-Jitsu. It's 10th Planet. That sounds cool. So in a Jiu-Jitsu world, I guess there's the gi, where they wear the uniform, and then 10th Planet is just a bunch of hooligans that decided to not wear the gi. And then I guess for me at that time, I was just watching MMA. I didn't really know much about gi. Yeah. And I just heard 10th Planet. And I'm like, oh, that's a neat concept. And I wasn't really a fan of katas.
Yeah.
So I guess in my head, I kind of associated gis with kata. So I went to this place, 10th Planet, and been there ever since. But since I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while, I've been invited to a lot of open mats. I'm actually I enjoy the gi.
Yeah. You enjoy the gi.
I enjoy the gi. It's just that Nabil was my first gym, you know what I mean? Wearing no gi. Yeah. So I don't do gi, but when I get invited by friends 100 years ago, I can't do that shit now. I put the gi on and it's a lot of fun. I like it.
Yeah.
People always like, oh, you're a no-gi guy. It's like, not. I'm just loyal. I'm just 10th planet first.
Yeah, I mean, I've jiu-jitsu or any martial arts, the loyalty is often like the old school loyalty is this is where I started. I'll die to the death, and the new school
Yeah.
loyalty is like, hey, I fit in here. I like this place. Like, I won't leave if that's the case, you know.
And my thing is, they're good for both. You got to just listen to yourself, be who you are. I'm just old school. That's how I roll. And then I like to pride myself in like, I've had one sensei.
Yeah.
But I got friends who are like amazing. They're great people. And then they just had several sensei. It's just like personal life didn't work out and they have different journeys.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah. But I guess I'm one sensei kind of guy.
Yeah. Like I started at one place, gi jiu-jitsu, and I just did not vibe. And so I was, looking around and then because I teach Krav Maga at Budo Burnaby, then I was just like, oh, I like this place. And then I just stayed kind of. And then I was teaching for a while jiu-jitsu when I had a place in Richmond. Probably shouldn't have been. I don't think I was good enough yet. But I was anyway. And I was under West Coast. And then, well, I won't get into that. But then I'm just back at Budo Burnaby with Mike Hansen. And it's great there now. So lots of monsters.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu is dope. My thing is, honestly, I trust everyone enough in the BC area.
Yeah.
Like I haven't really gone like a hokey jiu-jitsu gym yet, and I think I've been around, and everyone's been pretty good. The perfect gym is the one you mesh with. I was just fortunate enough to mesh with mine.
Yeah, well, that's a good way to put it, right? When did you start? You said 10 years ago?
Yeah, I don't even remember. Just like 9 or 2010.
So a little bit before me for jiu-jitsu. I started in 2012, and I remember like if you went to a gym with a black belt back then in Vancouver, it's like, holy shit, like holy shit.
It was rare. We had like that much black belt back in the day.
Like 5 or 6,
Purple belt were like legendaries back in the day, man. They're like, oh my God. Like, open mat. Oh, he's a purple belt. He's right here.
For sure. And now I'm a purple belt now. How about you? You purple brown?
Brown belt.
Brown belt
just
now.
On my journey for my black, just a lot of injury, and then a lot of personal stuff I had to get over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand that. That's the martial artist journey is the personal stuff I got to get over. I do martial arts, and then it helps you with the journey,
Yeah, it's like part of it, right? It's like in the beginning, I was just all gung-ho jiu-jitsu, which is something, you have to get to a certain level, right? But now I'm just like, well, being like a real martial artist is being able to take care of your personal life and then your martial arts life. That's the next level. So I'm like that kind of, I guess I'm just getting old and cheesy, the cheesy stuff that the old people say.
Well,
I appreciate that.
I've been thinking about that. Like, my specialty is Krav Maga, and in Krav Maga, there's no, well, at least outside of Israel, there's no like the cultural aspect and the spiritual. It's non-existent. It's all about efficiency. And I find similar in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's like it took off in popularity partially because it wasn't doing that cultural, the katas and the bowing and the ceremony. Yeah. And a lot of people resist doing that. But as I'm teaching longer and I'm getting a little older, not that old, I'm turning 34, and I'm like, some of that stuff about balance and it's actually really helpful. And I feel it's important. Like it should be brought back in a little bit, because if you have the students all the time, it's like maybe I can teach them more than just how to choke each other.
Yeah. It's like every level and everything, right? A lot of like the higher level, there's subtleties that when you're starting out, you won't really care about, and you shouldn't. Because you're just really worrying. But when I say me and you, I'm just mainly talking about my old personal self. Yeah. So my old personal self, and I'm just gonna project from that. It's like I get excited about learning something new, and then I have to throw my whole like life and worldview into whatever technique that is, and and then afterwards, after you get to know that, then you realize, okay, part of that martial art is who you are too. And who you are is also not just the technique. Yeah. This sounds good. That's my sense. Weird
it's like
look at it.
Finding your game in jiu-jitsu, right?
It's an elusive thing.
Yeah, if you go to one school and they're like, "Oh, the professor is known for this," and they're like, "This is the only way to do it." Now, a good example is triangles. Like, I have short, tiny little legs, and I struggle with triangles on even medium-sized people because I just cannot
Yeah,
get it. And they're like, "You're doing it wrong," and I'm like, "I probably am, but or it's just not my thing, you
that's
know."
not your
And
game, right?
yeah,
You have to find out who you are.
yeah, I think that's something that's good about jujitsu, right? You got to really
Yeah,
find your own journey, otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare.
and that's what makes it fun too. Do you want to like fight the same people?
Yeah.
Like, here's my thing. Like, I get excited about jujitsu. Is that okay if I sidetrack
Yeah,
for
yeah,
just for a
absolutely.
bit? So
Go
like,
wherever you want.
yeah, yeah, just edit this and stuff, and like, don't make fun of me too much.
I won't do
But
that.
I love jujitsu because it's like how I describe it to people is the ultimate fair battleground for every type of people. Like one
Mm,
extreme is we have the nerds,
mm,
and then the other extreme you have the athlete. Like what
yeah,
other game like where you can put those two together and they'll have like a fair match. In the
yeah,
beginning, the athlete will win just because they're like more in tune with their body, right? But
yeah,
guess what? The nerds do their freaking homework and they do their YouTube.
yeah,
And then like they know how to like I guess I'm more of like the nerd, like fat guy side. So I did like and I did sleight of hand magic before. So I know how to like grind and I know like it takes hours to get a move in. So
yeah,
like I was like the fat nerdy guy doing jujitsu, and I did my homework. I learned my technique, and I was able to compete with the athletes.
yeah,
But the beautiful thing about jujitsu, then it teaches you like, holy shit, like I can compete with the athlete, but they have this amazing superpower, their athleticism. And if I'm taking this seriously, I want to get there too. And I noticed a lot of the athletes are also like, mofos, look at that. That's like their techniques are wicked. They're sick. And then they start doing their homework. And then eventually the nerd becomes the athlete and the
yeah,
athlete becomes the nerd. And then
yeah,
that's the
right.
beauty and magic of jiu-jitsu. So,
And then you always have that one training partner. You're like, they can't get better than me. I have to. What are they doing? I need
yeah,
to get
I love and hate those guys, man.
better.
I love them because they push you. I hate them because they push you.
Yeah,
Yo, can you like stop training and just like eat some donuts, please? Like,
yeah. But
you're
so
too good.
you bring up you used to be the fat kid. You're obviously not that anymore. How much weight did you lose?
I'm all over the place. Like I guess the heaviest I was 260.
Hmm.
The lightest I've been was 167,
Yeah.
and then right now I'm at 180. But I got to like 190. I'm starting to get back into it again. I got my knee surgery,
Yeah. Oh
gonna
yeah,
heal up.
I feel yeah, I had knee surgery too. It's fun. Quote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
watching
The
everyone get better.
yeah. The how tall are you? So reference like for
5'10", so 5'10",
5'10".
180.
Yeah, yeah. So 180 is totally okay. 260, yeah, obviously it's a bit much, but
Yeah,
yeah. People
maybe I
always
want to be 170.
yeah. Well, it depends. Like I walk around. I'm 5'6", and if I'm just being a lazy piece of shit, I'm walking around at like 165, 170. But if I'm competing, I'm walking around at like 150, so
Yeah,
that I can weigh in with the gi, at 157 usually. So it's like
yeah. That's the thing about the gi is like
relative.
you have to like weigh in with that mofo too. So you got to
Yeah,
get a nice fancy light competition gi.
yeah. I think they should just weigh in without the gi and then weigh you in with the gi, and then all they need to check is your gi isn't like 20 pounds, and as long as
Yeah,
it's just like under the certain weight, they should be weighing you in without the gi,
that
just
makes
so
a
that
lot of
they
sense,
know.
right?
Yeah,
Because then like there's some like poor people over there. That's me. That's just like, hey, this later gi might cost more, like
yeah, yeah. It's just weird.
I don't know,
Like
I'm just making shit up, man.
no, just it's like the people, because the Brazilians, like, because if anyone doesn't know, it's from Brazil. It's they do what they have to do to win, and it's more to deal with that. And like I've been in competitions. I'm a casual guy, okay? I don't take it. I'm not like super competitive. I just like doing it because it's what keeps me motivated, win or
Yeah,
lose. Obviously, I want to win, and I
you're
tweak
my
what I
hero
need to.
then. I'm jealous.
But like I've gone up against guys that I'm like, okay, I've seen guys puking in the bathroom before, looking like garbage to make weight, and then come in and steamroll the division. I'm like, okay, that guy's taking something, like, because you're so dehydrated, and then they just steamrolled everyone. It's like they have to be on something. And the idea that the sport is clean is like, that's not true.
Yeah, Like, what's your take on that of people like being on something?
I don't care and I care. It depends. It depends on what it is. Like in combat sports, it can be dangerous. Now for jujitsu, I don't know if it's that dangerous, but I think there needs to be a level of honesty. Like if you want to have a roided out division and a non-roided out division, I think that's totally okay for jujitsu. No, MMA, I don't
Yeah,
think so because it's unsafe. I can be unsafe. The injury rate goes up. But it's like, hey, I don't want to put that stuff in my body. I want to compete naturally. So I want to compete against other people that I know is natural. Now, if you want to put that in your body, by all means, but go compete against people who want to put that in your body. And I think the Brazilian, like in Brazil, and there's a whole cultural difference. People are, all the woke warriors think they're so aware of the world, and they're not. And let's talk about Brazil. Like my understanding, and I could be wrong, is that in Brazil, it's totally normal and acceptable for a doctor to give TRT to an older
yeah.
gentleman, over 30 because they consider it a health thing. But in North America, maybe not Mexico, it's like, no, that's bad. And so it's like it is a perspective thing. Is there any long-term negative effects if given correctly? That no? Okay, then what do I care if you take it? However, for competition, we have to be
Especially when it comes
honest
to
about it.
money too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
Because
getting punched in the face.
yeah, and the head trauma, that's where I'm like, okay, there is a safety aspect to that. As we learn more about concussions, it's like you do need to consider, like, if you're just a monster taking their heads off, it's like the old Vale Tudo days. Like, they didn't care. And, like, in Japan, they don't care. But in North America, people do care. So it's like, hey, if you want to do that crazy stuff, why don't you just host it in Japan? Because they don't care there.
Yeah.
And it's a
And then it's
cultural
fair,
thing.
and then they can do that too.
Yeah, as long as you're honest about it, I don't really care. And then it's like, you look at like Gordon Ryan coming in, and then he must have taken something to get to the size he is now.
Acai, man.
But
just pure juice.
with that being said, he's competing against guys who for sure juice and are lying about it, and he's still destroying them. So it's like, well, it's relative, I guess,
It's I like your argument there. Like I didn't think about that far ahead, but like to really separate combat sports with jiu-jitsu,
Yeah.
right? Because there's a lot more in the line in combat sport, like physical health wise, right? If you're just if you're not ready, and then that guy's super juiced out, they can get hurt. And then for jiu-jitsu, I guess when it comes to a lot of money, like for me, I guess I just been a fat guy competing against a lot of guys I roll with, and I know they all juiced.
Yeah, right.
I don't care,
Yeah.
but I just do jiu-jitsu, right? I'm just like, if you want to juice, by all means, go for it. Like, do it, and then I'm just gonna have more bragging rights when I beat you.
Yeah, right.
I've
that's
always
the thing.
liked but I feel safe, right?
Yeah.
Like my coach Ken Chan, he always bugs me because before I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get into a fight. It's like, you're not gonna get into a fight, dude. Nah, you're gonna go ground cuddle.
Yeah.
but you know what? That's true though, right? That's like people who like do MMA matches. There's so much stuff like they have to worry about, right? Like you're gonna get punched. Grappling is fairly safe. Just don't get slammed, and if you're out of your comfort zone, you tap.
Yeah.
And it's that simple, right? Like freak accident happens, but it'll happen if you play basketball or whatnot.
Yeah. And I
So
mean,
I feel
grappling. Yeah, in grappling, it's usually the wrestling or the judo that causes the injury. So
yeah,
with beginners, it's a good idea to always kind of focus on the ground and then build them up to the stand up because it's very intense.
yeah. When I see a wrestler over there, you can make fun of me all you want, man. I'm gonna butt scoot my way over there.
Yeah,
I'm 39 years old, like
yeah.
I don't got time to like mess around.
Yeah, I'm pulling guard. Like, have you ever rolled at Budo Burnaby?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, yeah, good. Yeah,
And
when
that's the one near Benwood Mall, right?
yeah,
With
yeah. When all this shit goes away and they used to do open mats on Sundays, you should for sure come. There's a couple guys. They're young and athletic. There's some really good wrestlers, and it's like, man, it's exactly what you're talking about. I'm the older guy. I'm not an athlete. Like, I've struggled my whole life with physicality stuff. And it's like if you're like, I'm tired, and then you're like, pull guard, get the guard.
Yeah, stay tight. Depends too. I have like, you get Matt. Here's my thing. I'm not a warrior.
Yeah.
I'll be upfront. People are warrior, right? I'm a troll and entertainer first. Okay.
Yes.
So like I love martial arts, but I'm not a warrior. So I just want to separate myself from those guys. Some people be like, give me the biggest challenge in a match. You know, they're like, and then props for those guys. Those guys I want to watch.
Yeah.
I'm a wuss, man. If I'm gonna go in a match, I'm like, yo, sensei, give me like a 12-year-old boy, man. That's new. I don't even want him training that long.
Yeah.
I want the easiest match and show off. I'll fight somebody in training. Give me the best guys. I don't care if they do steroids or whatever. If it's between us, it's my personal development, no ego aside. But if people are watching,
Yeah.
I want the
to
easiest
destroy.
match.
Right. Well, I wouldn't say you're not a warrior.
So just throwing it out there.
Yeah. See, that's interesting. Like, you don't consider yourself a warrior. My definition of warrior is someone who trains so that if they have to fight, they can, versus a fighter is someone who likes to fight. You know what I mean?
Ooh, that's deep.
That's
I like
how
that.
I define it, because I think we have, let's knife fighting is a good example. Have you ever dabbled in it at all?
Just watch some videos. I'd probably just grab a chair, throw it, and then run.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yell fire.
So that's knife self-defense. It's different. So knife fighting, like the Filipinos with the all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if you look into that, to me, it's very fancy. And while a lot of them may stab the shit out of me, because they're just faster than me, it's like I don't think that they've lost the way as far as reality. Because when I talk to soldiers or combatants who have had to use a knife to kill, it's not fancy. It's messy, and it's 1, 2, 3, fucking kill shit. End. Right? End. No fancy shit. And then you look into the history of the Philippines and the Spanish and a lot of the martial arts that got masked in dance. And I feel like people have forgotten that. And in the modern times, now going back to the modern times, it's what is combat effective? Well, we're not training life and death, right? And it's one thing when I'm teaching Krav Maga, it's really hard to teach people. There is a difference in how you fight for life and death than even how the best athlete will fight at the highest level. It's different. And if I'm going up against the best athlete in jiu-jitsu, they're going to mop the floor with me. Now, they may very well mop the floor with me if it's life or death because they're bigger, stronger, there's physics, but it is still
different. The fight will be different.
The fight is different because I even if they beat me and kill me, I might still put the living fear into them in that 5 seconds.
It's not going to be worth it.
Yeah. And it's just a mental difference. So warriors are like, I don't want to fight. I have the training of fighting. I will if I have to because it's life or death and fuck you. Versus a fighter is, I like getting punched in the face. I'm going to keep going. Give me the biggest, toughest thing. And I'm like, that's not me, dude. I am not a fighter. That's just my perspective on that,
I like the definition then. Well, guess what? Then I'm a cuddling warrior.
There you go, right? I see in your photo you have a bunch of pandas, so it's just like Kung Fu Panda, right?
I just accepted the fact that I'm not tough looking, nor I will be. So I just have to make sure that when I roll with people, they'll just know.
Yeah.
And then back it up like that. Because aesthetically, I don't fit that role.
But that's fine, right? Like I'm not that into like Sun Tzu, but it's like it's better to look weak but be strong, and look strong if you're weak, kind of thing.
That's my whole philosophy too. And I forgot who said it, but someone, is it Shakespeare or something? Like, say less than you know, and show less than what you have.
Yeah.
Kind of same philosophy, right?
Yeah.
Just don't put all your cards down. It's just not good poker.
It's a strategy thing. Like, a lot of people will say, look them in the eyes. No, that's an ego thing. And that sometimes is a cultural thing. If you don't look them in the eyes, it gives them a false sense of security. So when they do
Fedor,
stuff,
he never looks anyone in the eye.
Yeah.
Fedor just like looks like he's thinking about like what kind of food he's gonna go grocery shopping afterwards, right? That's even makes it more scary.
Like Fedor Emelianenko, yeah.
Fedor Emelianenko.
Yeah.
Like the old school guy that got knocked down. Yeah. Internet won't let us.
Yeah, and that's the reality. And it's possible that the people who are really looking people in the eyes, either they've been taught that culturally in whatever culture they're in, or they're just as terrified as the other person. They're trying to scare the shit out of them, right?
Yeah.
Versus, I don't care. Let's fight, whatever.
Or they're controlling themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's like maybe they don't want to get too excited and they just want to stick to the game plan.
Yeah.
right?
That's also that could be a thing.
It's I don't know. Are you the kind of looking people in the eye
No,
if you
I
get into a
don't.
match?
I don't. But that I may or may not be on the spectrum. So I have always, since a young child, found looking people in the eyes creepy. Like it just creeps me out. So it's backfired because a lot of people see it as like not good because I won't look them in the eyes. Now nowadays it's because I can't fucking hear you, so I'm turning my ear towards you. So that's my excuse now.
It's just an old man thing now.
But growing up, I just never been that person. Because for me, also, it's like I get rage. Like if I'm gonna look you in the eyes, and I don't want to have that.
Yeah.
So, like if I actually feel like we're on, I'm not looking you in the eyes because I get overwhelmed with rage. So I'm trying to control myself in that aspect. But it's also the maybe I'm autistic. Who the fuck knows? And now
Hey,
it's the
you know
hearing.
what? I'm in the same I'm in the same boat as you, man. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm always joking around and trying to be light.
yeah,
Because I'm a pretty, like, deep down, I guess, insecure guy that has a lot of rage too, right?
yeah,
For my personal self, right? I just
yeah,
gotta, like, control that boat. And I guess my humor and, like, me being light is controlling it. Sometimes a good tech strategy, maybe not, because I do lose my temper, and that's something I want to, like, work on personally.
yeah.
And I get heated even on Facebook. I just like, yeah.
You're pretty good on Facebook. Like the way you put stuff, it's funny, right? It's clever and funny. It's not like me where I'm straight up like you're idiots, like you're all stupid.
Oh, I've done that. Like I've had to like I probably deleted so much stuff because of, like, I've done that before, and I just always cringe. I just didn't like that part about myself.
Yeah,
But I guess I also needed it too. Like I don't ever want to get into a street fight. Like when I roll, like this is my face when I'm rolling.
yeah,
Like I don't care how hard it is. That's my because when I'm rolling, I'm supposed to be in control. But I'm pretty
yeah,
sure, like, if I get into street fight, like my face would be like,
yeah,
and slobber there, and I'm
yeah,
pretty sure, like, I'd probably cry too. 100% if I get into street fight, I'd
yeah.
cry. I'd be
Well,
like,
you want to run? Yeah,
you'll never let me do this. I don't want to kill you. Like,
yeah.
and I'm
It makes
dramatic,
sense.
so at least I know it. I know who I am.
But you know what? If you actually did that, it might freak the person out so much that they're like, I know, I'm out.
It's happened. Can I tell you I've been jumped once.
Yeah, yeah. How
That
was
was like my
that?
one jumping experience. I was in my 20s. I didn't do martial arts. I didn't do anything. I was like, my teacher at that time, I did sleight of hand magic and then
Mm,
Zen. I was, ooh, Zen, read Zen books and find out
yeah,
who yourself and all that jazz. And then it was like, I think, like midnight, and then Canada Day,
mm,
right? So people were like drinking, excited. I decided to go for a walk. I was gonna go on my Zen journey. And then I walked to my old high school, and there's a whole bunch of like some kids over there. They were just like bullshitting, and talking to each other. So I talked to them, three guys and one girl.
mm.
And one of the guys decided to push the other guy around, one of their buddies. And I'm just like, yo, guys, whoa, no need to do that. We're all just chilling. And then they all start tripping out on me. I guess they were
Yeah,
just drunk, right?
yeah,
And they all just start going ham. You start punching me in the face, and both of them. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, oh shit, this is what being jumped is like.
mm,
And I'm like, so I calculated in my head, okay, like, where am I? What's going on? Okay, I'm like, I have really shitty cardio. I know that. I already know I can't run for shit. So if I fight back, it's gonna instigate it. So I'm just gonna pray that they get bored.
yeah.
Like I didn't felt I was being hurt. It was superficial. So
Mm,
two guys just jumping me, and I just took it. And then after like maybe like 5-10 minutes, they got bored and they left.
yeah,
So I sat down over there, lied down, and I'm just like, so this is what it's like. I didn't really feel I was in danger. There was no, like, then I looked in the mirror, like, okay, superficially I'm hurt, but I'm more worried about going home and telling my parents how it looked like than
yeah,
anything. But so I just sat down there and just like, okay, this is not bad. It's like, thanks, Zen. I guess this is my lesson for tonight.
yeah.
And those motherfuckers came back, man.
Oh
I
shit.
guess have you ever done something like my break on it is, have you ever done something and like an adrenaline rush, and then you want to go back to the same spot to like kind of relive the memory?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not an adrenaline junkie though.
Oh, okay. Well, I
I'm
think
very
they
weird
were
like
doing it,
that.
so they went seconds. They came
Yeah.
back, but at this point, my face was pretty beat up already. It's like it's so cheesy. Like if I tell you this, you're not even gonna believe me, but I'm gonna go for it anyways. So the second part, so they decide to like come back and then just like go at it for me again, right? But in my head, like
Yeah.
I can't afford this anymore. I have to like do something, right?
Yeah.
Like right now, I'm at a level of safe. If they continue further, I'm gonna be at not safe anymore.
Yeah.
So they have to go up the stairs. So when they came up the stairs, I just tweaked, and I was just like, I told you my raging face.
Yeah.
I just went like that, and I fucking Sparta kicked the first guy that
Yeah.
came up.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not gonna fucking do this anymore.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys just fucking came, and I just punched him. I broke his nose.
Yeah.
It's probably like I bet you if there's camera, it probably looked something like this. Like
Yeah.
it probably wasn't pretty. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
pretend like I'm like a fucking, but I was big. I was like a big guy, right?
Yeah.
So probably not pretty, but there was weight behind it and slobber on my face. Probably two different characters they've met before. And then afterwards they stood up, and then they were like kind of shitting their pants. Then they sat beside me, and then they smoked me up.
Yeah.
And then someone said the cheesiest line in the world. And I kind of wish he didn't say that, because now if I tell the story, no one's gonna believe it. And he goes, "Hey man, I'm sorry. We might have won the battle, but you won the war."
Yeah. No, I mean, that shit
That's
is
my Zen getting jump story.
it's totally believable in the sense that fits into how humans behave. Is that at least, and I always emphasize this in my school, is that in North America, in most places, not like Southside Detroit or some of those places, but people are often full of shit, and it's ego and it's rage, and most people are fucking terrified. And when they're in their friends, they want to show off, and some cultures are going to be more likely to get violent for the sake of image than others. It's just reality.
Yeah.
You need to stop pretending like that's not the truth. But they're just as terrified as others. And like, so in Krav Maga, like, if you feel threatened and you can't run and you can't talk your way out of it, you go fucking psycho. You train the techniques correctly, but you go psycho, and that will win, because unless you're going up against a trained professional, and then it doesn't work anymore often. And let's cut the bullshit. There's not as many trained professionals to the level out there as everyone thinks there are.
Yeah, and if they are, they probably will avoid the situation.
They'll either avoid it or they'll have killed you already.
Yeah.
And if you actually show them, it's just prey predator mentality. People pretend humans aren't animals. We are. Is if you show them, I'm not weak, fuck you, get out of my face. And I have a lot of stories like that, growing up. I have a big fucking mouth. I still do. People get mad at me all the time. The difference in the adult world is I'm not hanging around, shithead teens trying to prove themselves. I'm hanging around adults who are just like, fuck you, John, I don't want to talk to you. But in the teenage world, it's like,
you fucking said that? Okay.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, you fucking say that. And it's like, I'm like, I say this all the time. It's like, I don't know how I didn't get jumped. And it's probably because in that moment, I always convince people just enough, like, hey, you may be a better fighter than me, but I'm going to go nuts on you. Like, I remember
it's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, it's not going to be worth it. And I think I convinced enough people, because I mouthed off some people I shouldn't have. Like, even, under 25 or whatever, there's a few times where I mouthed someone off and it turns out they had a gun on them the whole time.
Wow.
And I got them. Now, good thing I knew that, like, people in Vancouver, like, specifically, they don't pull guns unless they're really going to use it, because once they do, it's a huge nightmare for them. Even if they just pull it out, they got to get rid of it and all sorts of stuff. But that's because I understand the culture here. That would not be the same in other places.
Somewhere else. Yeah, no.
Right? In Mexico City, they'll just shoot you, okay? You have to be aware of your surroundings.
It's so true. It's like, I can like be all like act all tough because I feel comfortable in Vancouver. I know where it is. I know where I'm at, and I have friends, phone calls. But if I travel, I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'm fat. Oh, I'll get out of here. I just don't. I'll defend myself if I have to, but not necessarily my ego. My ego can screw up.
For sure, got to be careful. Now, I remember one time I got surrounded. They're friends of mine, as in I was friendly with them, but they're not friends of mine. And I could say something that'll probably piss a lot of people off, but maybe I won't. But someone had said I was trash talking them. right? And they're from let's just say they're from an Arab country. Now that's not an issue because we like I'm a Jew, they're Arabs. We actually had a mutual respect either way. But you know, someone had said I was trash talking them, and they out of nowhere they're like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And they surround me, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, they're like, you said all this shit, and I'm like, no. I mean, I don't know if I did or did not. I can't remember. But I was like, no, no, I didn't. And then the biggest guy, who must have been like 300 pounds, he like uppercutted me right in the solar plexus. Now,
Fuck.
he couldn't punch for shit, but
He was a big
he
guy.
he's a big guy and he's used to hitting people and having them drop. And I just looked at him and I was like, why'd you do that? And it kind of like threw him off. Like, what the fuck? Like, most people go down. I'm like, and it's in my head. I'm like, thank God I've been working on my abs. You know, like
It hurts.
but
I can't let him know.
you know, it just threw them off. Like, you're not scared. I'm like, oh, I don't understand why you're getting violent. Like, what's the problem? And then I talked my way out of it. But it's like if they'd and it wasn't him that was the dangerous one. Some of his friends who actually grew up in the Arab country, like as teenagers, some of the stories they told me, I'm like, they will be violent in a bad way. So it's
Good
like,
thing
thank
you
God.
like you stopped him psychologically.
Yeah, I stopped him psychologically because he hit me, and he's not used to someone just standing there looking at him. And then,
The people who's supposed to be crazy got them to think a little bit, maybe.
well, no, the actual crazy guys actually probably respected me more than that guy.
Yeah.
And so thank God I had that kind of loose relationship with these people that they are like, whatever, like it's not worth it, you know. But if let's say they were people I didn't know and like knowing how crazy they could be, it's like, oh fuck, like, you know,
Yeah.
and like Krav Maga self defense is avoid the situation. So maybe don't trash talk people, John. But I still do that to this day. It's a bad habit. Then try to talk your way out of it. And that's the Canadian way. Talk your way out of it. Talk your way out of it. The Israeli way is talk your way out of it. And when it's very clear you can't, fuck them. Which is kind of what's going on there right now, but that's very complicated, you know? So, you know, that's where self-defense and ego is different than combat. Like you may be able to kick the shit out of people, but like I can go on YouTube and find pro UFC fighters getting piped in the back of the head because they picked a fight with some idiot at the fucking gas station. I don't know if you ever saw that video I'm talking about.
No, I saw that too. And
Yeah.
it's like fighting, like street fighting, it's like everything is off the rules. It's like, and then a lot of like luck and circumstance can come into play.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is like, where am I getting at here? So as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, do I think BJJ, okay, can I?
Yeah, research.
You teach self you teach self-defense Krav Maga, right? Do you think BJJ by itself would be good enough as a self-defense? Honestly,
depends on the situation. People have hard time contextualizing things, and they live in fantasy worlds. Okay, so if it's a one-on-one situation and you know it's one-on-one, sure, why not? Just like wrestling could dominate you. Now
it's like experience, right?
Yeah, experience. And if this person doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, like I think there's that story of like Henzo Gracie tweeting while he's getting mugged and like kicking the crap out of that or something. Of course, if they're schmucks, of course. But if you walk around saying it's going to work in self-defense in all situations, you're being an idiot and it's dangerous, right? So let's take a good example is women. Now, I teach Krav Maga and I can teach Jiu-Jitsu. I encourage women to do both, right? They need to do both because, and it's not specific to women, it's smaller people. Just because of physics, the chances you ending up on the ground even accidentally is higher. So the higher your skill to control someone on the ground who's bigger than you, the better you can survive. Because we all know someone much bigger and stronger has gotten on top of us, even if you have higher skill, and sometimes you're stuck. Now imagine they're punching you in the head. You do need the grappling skills to get out there. So I had been doing Krav Maga for a few years. I did a seminar with Luana Alozgar, multi-time world champion BJJ black belt, and I just watched her like destroy a bunch of black belt men bigger than her, and she's used to that. And it's like, oh, like what happens if someone's bigger than you gets on top of you? And what happens if someone better than you gets on top of you? You're in deep trouble. And Krav Maga, for a long time, did not really do too much. They do ground stuff, but they're not good at it
Yeah.
because of the attitude of don't go to the ground. 100%. Don't go to the ground. Don't go to the ground. Avoid it all you can, but let's not pretend like we won't end up there sometimes. And so I was like, I need to get better at ground stuff because my grappling was shit. Now my grappling is better than my stand-up by a long shot because I do so much jiu-jitsu now and I barely do any
It's just fun.
stand-up.
Stupid
Yeah, it's
jiu-jitsu.
fun. And it depends. So like I get annoyed at jiu-jitsu people or grapplers who are like, I'm going to teach a self-defense seminar. Here, I'm going to teach you a triangle. And you're going to get that girl
Yeah.
killed. Okay? You're going to get that girl killed because triangles are hard. They're technically difficult. And to be effective at them, that girl needs to do it for 5-10 years to overcompensate for the fact that they're big. So I'm not saying you can't use a triangle in self-defense. Obviously, a black belt jiu-jitsu woman who's been doing it for 10 years is going to be able to be effective in self-defense. But physics matter. As soon as those strikes come in, she better be so good at jiu-jitsu. She knows how to control her hips and body. Can you still hear me there?
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah. Let's pause. Okay, we got cut off there. I think I was talking about women in self-defense and jiu-jitsu.
yes.
Yeah. And so it gets very complicated. Now, back to that story with like Olana, I realized, okay, if you have a blue belt level of jiu-jitsu and you've been doing Krav Maga, you're probably good. Because at a blue belt, unless they're Gordon Ryan, you can hold off even a black belt for 30 seconds, at least. Yeah, I hope so, as a blue belt. You should be making them work for it a little bit, which is enough time in Krav to like, hey, now I'm going to up kick you in the face, or I'm going to grab your nuts or punch you in the groin. Now, on the other side, Krav Maga people are a little delusional where they're like, I can just stick my finger in your eyes. Well, it depends on their rage level and their skill level, because as soon as they realize what you're doing, they can do it too. Like imagine fighting Vanderlei Silva, okay, on the street. Like, I could poke him in the eyes all I want. He's going to fucking axe murder me, metaphorically, you know? So it's all about the situation. I
like that. That's
you know, it's complicated. I get in debates and arguments with black belts all the time, and they just think I'm being an asshole. But I'm like, listen, man, I think you're being delusional. And then you talk to like special force black ops guys who have combat skills, and they may be the most physically gifted, mentally tough motherfuckers out there. You bring them on the mat and they get slaughtered because the engagement is different, right?
Yeah, they have to follow rules, different rules, different games now, right?
Yeah.
So I like that attitude. I think the problem with most, and you called it too, this is my worldview or like my opinion, right? I have to be like careful because we're internet and I'm only a brown belt.
Say whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just protecting myself of like not everyone else, but how much I would cringe at myself in the future.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point.
Right? But the way I see it, it's like I'll start with this. Like in the beginning, I got to jiu-jitsu suck up in the beginning, right?
Jiu-jitsu, the best, nothing else work. You know, karate and Krav Maga, they're all garbage. Only thing is the best is the jiu-jitsu.
That's my interpretation of my old self believing that.
Yeah.
And then my oldest, I guess my teacher for like the one thing I know the most is so cheesy. It's like sleight of hand magic, right? Yeah. And then sleight of hand magic like teaches me there's like, again, like levels to this shit. And then there's like, and how you perceive stuff. So for me, like, I guess in the beginning, I thought jiu-jitsu was a shit. And I thought if I can just teach jiu-jitsu and then everyone can work. But then after a while, you realize it's like life is not like that. Like it depends on the person. I would trust somebody, how you said, if they do jiu-jitsu for 5 years at least, right? Because that means they've had enough like experience to improvise a situation.
Yeah.
Like I never believed in like learning a step. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like when do this, do that step, I'm like, that's never gonna work in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's totally fair. I think that's a valid point, whether it be Krav Maga
or anything, any self-defense.
If you can't improvise in the moment, you're not at a good enough skill to be able to defend yourself.
To use it.
Yeah. I teach everyone like, listen, I'm not there to whisper in your ear Now do combo A1.
Yeah.
You know, like if you can't think for yourself in the moment, it doesn't matter what you learn from me. You're fucked. Like
Yeah,
people hate hearing
and you got to
that.
pick the right one because there's
Yeah.
gonna be like different variations of it, right?
Yeah.
So like I thought jujitsu was the way because you can improvise and all that stuff for making stuff. But in reality, but then now that I've been doing it for like just living life a little longer, I realized that's not how like life works. And as a magician, I got to a point where I only wanted to fool other magicians. So I have tricks that only fool other magicians. But guess what? They're like really boring to watch if you're not a magician.
Yeah.
Then I have to go to a level and ask myself, who am I going to entertain? Another magician or just an average guy?
Yeah.
The average guy, who cares about the other magicians, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just a nerd if you do that. And then that kind of got me thinking, same for jiu-jitsu, I mean, for martial arts. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like the jiu-jitsu, like I'm defending myself against a guy who knows how to fight.
Yeah.
But then like traditional martial arts, they work, I think, for self-defense to a point. If the person studying it is actually does it seriously, right? And also understand that when they're defending themselves, it's usually against not another magician, not another martial artist, but a lay person who doesn't know much about combat. I saw this video of like this guy like not doing this is African guy who's just doing like make believe Kong Crane style, and he just knocked the crap out of the guy, knocked him out, and it worked. And then like my thing is like, I genuinely believe it's up to the person, no matter what style it is, and then and how seriously they take it. And I think no matter what style it is, if they're able to take it to a point where they can improvise, then they should be able to defend themselves. Again, this is just my limited. I'm not a martial arts.
It sounds on point to me.
I'm just like a jiu-jitsu nerd that's been jumped once. That's my self-defense like expertise, you know, like.
Well,
but
you
like,
know, it's like this. If you look at and people hate history nowadays. It's a shame. It's back in the day we didn't have the internet. Back in the day, I had to walk fucking a week to get to the next village over. Who's gonna do that unless it's an absolute emergency? Because a fucking tiger could kill me on the way. And so people were limited by the experience of their local place. So in martial arts, sensei, I learned this, and they had no real of testing it out. That's what we're seeing nowadays. You're really starting to see the styles that work and don't work because they're being tested out.
Yes.
And you're seeing style, and sometimes you'll get a karate guy who comes in side stance like Wonder Boy Thompson and does really, really well. But then they'll be like, you see, it works. It's like, man, he's the exception to the rule. Go fuck yourself, because the rest of you keep getting your ass kicked, right?
He's just physically talented.
Yeah, he's gifted. And I think, people have a hard time understanding that I'm sorry you wasted your life on something that's not very practical. Now, if you want to fall back onto, hey, I like it for the lifestyle and I like it, it makes me feel good, fine, that's cool, great. But don't pretend that it's going to go be the next UFC champ when the statistics and the numbers at this point in 20 years or whatever the UFC are consistently showing the styles that work the best. Boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu for the most part. And if you get really good at that and you train for that, well, now it's MMA, right? But on the street, if you're really good, you forget, hey, they could have a weapon. Hey, they could have friends. Hey, I might have to kill them. If you forget these things, those skills could actually be a detriment now. Because you're thinking,
you have confidence that you don't need.
Yeah. And
it's not.
And everyone not everyone here, but a lot of people carry weapons, right? And it's like, we don't think about it in Vancouver because a lot of people don't here. You go in other Philippines, a lot of people have knives. And if you forget about that, you're in trouble, right?
Yeah. When I went to Philippines, I trained with Alvin Aguilera. He's kind of neat experience, and he's like big he brought jiu-jitsu in the Philippines, and he runs one of the big promotions there.
Yeah.
He talked about like knife fighting, and he's just like, if you're gonna bring the knife out, understand it's like you don't fuck around, you don't mess around, man.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
People go crazy.
Oh yeah. Now I'm gonna take a huge limb here. Are you Filipino or are you mixed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Filipino.
Okay, I figured.
By accent, right? But
the accent. I didn't think you'd get offended. Some people do. How dare you ask me? Hey, Lan, I'm curious about what's going on here.
Like, I'm proud.
It's like, do you know how many times I have to explain the whole Jewish thing? Okay, it all it does. If someone's genuinely asking, don't get offended. But if they're asking and you can tell, are they being ignorant? Like they just think stupid shit, or are they being racist? There's a very big difference
There's
between them, you know?
you can tell by the person too, right? The
Yeah,
racist one will have a smart. They already knew the answer. And then you'll
yeah,
just get an idiot like me who's just like, I just honestly don't know.
yeah. And people, I get annoyed if people get offended by that. It's just like you're an idiot. Like I don't. I'm just curious. Whatever. I'm pretty good at guessing because I think I'm cultured, but I'm sorry, a lot of people aren't. And so it's hard
Yeah.
to tell with some people that are mixed, you know. But anyways,
I'm
that's
tricky
off
too.
topic.
I confuse Filipinos too, man. They don't even
Yeah,
know.
it
And
depends.
you know what? I like it.
North Island, South Island. Where are you from? You know. No, but where are you from?
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Oh.
it's like yeah, in the Philippines, I've never been. One day, my understanding is a lot of people have knives and they will use them and they go crazy, and it's a very different thing when you pull out a knife. And in North America, here's a cultural difference. A lot of places they pull out a knife, they don't really want to use it.
Using for scare people, but
Yeah, it's a scare tactic. In other places, no, they're going to use it. They're going to use it.
it's like for me, that's like a high risk scare tactic. I guess people who do that have no choice or cowards. It's like
Well, yeah, it depends. You can frame it any different way. I think from in a Western perspective, is that if you're gonna pull something and you're not willing to use it, you shouldn't have pulled it.
yeah,
And I would apply the same to police. Like, stop using it as a
yeah.
scare tactic. Use it
Speaking
or
of
don't use it.
police, I think everyone has been saying that, and it should just be mandatory. Why don't they just make it like you got to be blue belt at least, or if not yet, you should be able to aspire to it.
Politics. That's the answer.
But I'm also like, I'm easy for me to say, like, I'm just trying to think from the other side. Like I'm not in a situation where people might constantly pull a gun at me too. So like, it's easier for me to like, to talk other thing, but it would only make sense. You'd think like our like self, like, like you think our law enforcers should be like
Trained
somewhat,
professionals?
yeah.
Like, you think they should be? I think nobody disagrees with the fact that they should be trained professionals. It's the issue is the politicians don't want to spend the money and time. And they want to get the absolute maximum results for the absolute minimum effort on their part because they don't actually care. The people making the
That's
decision.
true. They're out. They're only there for a certain time frame, right? And then when they're gone, you don't give a shit.
But it's not even the cops. It's the people controlling the budgets and the people making the decisions. It's the cops. Of course, if I go to a cop like, hey, if I could give you the time and skills in paid, this is a big one, during your paid hours to get the training that you need, will you do it? And most of them will say yes. But that's not what happens. What most of it is, we want you to go get training outside of your paid hours. And
Okay,
maybe we'll pay for some of your equipment, or maybe, which is not often. Like, I know the border police, CBSA, they will be covered for up to 10,000 rounds of ammo for practice time, but it's on their own time. And that's the big problem. Even if officers want
you know
to,
what?
right?
If that's your profession, that should be like, yeah, that should. And it's not like a passion profession too, right?
Yeah.
None of them are
Not
passionate about
anymore.
being a police officer. So it's just like a job, and I guess that's the problem. So you know what? Like, if it's a job too, if I have a job, I really would not want to spend any more time on my job when I'm
Yeah.
not getting paid.
And let's say BC is a good example where we live. Like, if I go to a company and they're not providing the good training and I get injured, they're in trouble. Why is that any different for police officers? It's just it's an attitude.
And that's when it should matter the most too.
Yeah, exactly. They should be highly trained. Like, I believe in Taiwan, you have to be either a judo black belt or working on a judo black belt. You have to be quite significant. Or like Germany, to be an officer in Germany, it's a 4-year policing program. After you've already been like, hey, we take you, then you do like a 4-year program specific for policing, which includes auditing, time, and training and all this stuff. They treat it like a profession, like a real journey profession. And here, well, in America's worse. It's like, hey, you passed this test. Hey, you did. Okay, go, and never receive training ever again. RCMP is not so bad, not as bad, but the politics and the decision making is what's ruining it. You're listening to people on the street who know nothing about combat, yelling at your politicians about shit that they don't understand, and the politicians are like, okay. It's like, and now you're seeing in Portland and New York, which had massive defund the police.
I didn't get that
already.
idea, that
Yeah.
philosophy too. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for saying that, but
It's
I didn't
stupid.
understand that.
It's stupid. But
Can I tell you my point of view in that? I just want to
sure,
express that.
absolutely,
Though,
yeah.
There's people gonna hate me in this, but like, I was really upset when that happened.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's gotta be something that's done, because like, from what it seems like, from what I could be wrong. I'm like not educated in this, right? I'm just a lay person. If you ask me to pick a card, I'll find it 100%. I can back myself up for this kind of stuff. This is a lay person's, like, uneducated person point of view, right?
Yeah.
But from what the news is saying, in states at least, whenever they, personally for me, I've never had bad cop experience.
Yeah.
I've been like, a whole bunch of my friends got with mushrooms. I was just honest with the cops. I'm like, hey, I'm high as fuck. I live over there. It's my birthday. They just laugh at me and then send me on my way. Like, I've always had good cop always had good cop experience, right? Like, but I've also been pretty good at like not seeing a cop, but seeing the human being.
Yeah.
If that's my superpower. So, but but from a person observing of what's happening, it's like, whenever like a cop let his ego get to him, his punishment was like, oh, for your ego getting into you, your punishment is you get a 6 months vacation. What?
Yeah.
If I was a cop, I'd be like fucking up people all the time just to go hang around with my wife and family. You know what I mean? Just like, you want to go on a vacation, honey? Sure. All right. I'm going to be in the news a little bit, but I'm on paid leave. Again, I'm a lay person. I have no idea what's really going on, right? But I think the people got mad, and I got mad, was because like there's no consequences here. It seems more like a reward. They're like, what? They're not working and then a paid leave.
Yeah.
Right. And then where's the lesson in that? And then so I was with the people like, you know what? There's got to be done. It's got to be done. But then it got to a point where the cops were like, well, listen. Like, I saw in media and they stood down and they're like, well, listen, what's happening? And yes, some of us are bad thing, and there's got to be something to be done. And as a person, like, yes, because there has to be a conversation, right? We have to let them know, like, that's fucked that somebody's doing something. The reward is like paid leave. Maybe like there has to be consequences in the union or some shit like that. Like maybe the head guy.
You said something in America in particular, and this is where I get in trouble. I hate unions. They're corrupt. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. In America, the police union is a fucking problem. Like,
that's what I'm saying. So it's like, I read somewhere too, I could be wrong, not as educated guy, that like the city pays for that kind of shit when they get sued. I'm like, shouldn't like that go to like the head union guys fucking like budget, their money? I'm sure if we threaten their money, they're gonna tighten shit up.
Yeah.
If I'm like a teacher, like, and teaching like whatever, someone's threatening my place to teach somebody, I'll be harder on my fucking students. I'm like, you guys better not fuck around and lose my fucking privileges, you idiots. And I'm pretty sure if we do that to the head guys, like if I'm the head cop and I'm like, you son, I worked so hard to get us all in here so we can all go to Disneyland, and you have this punk over here just shooting up people because he's insecure and doesn't have his shit together. We need to do something about that. But that's not going to happen. They're going to defend themselves because you got to protect their money. And then guess what? At one point, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to let them know, yo, like, this is how I felt from like just observing the media. It was going to happen. But then people, now the people who like just wants to rob shit, and then they're just like, I'm young and I went to university and I need to do something with this shit. And then they just go ham. And I'm like, yo, the point was to have a conversation.
Yeah.
The point was to have a conversation, not to ego battle. Like, maybe I'm just old. Maybe ego battle is like a young man's thing and they're young and that's what they want. And I'm like, no, the point was to yell. The point was to let them know, hey, listen. And right when somebody's going to listen, you tell them to fuck off. Like, I'm just saying that because I would be the kind of guy to be like, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm going to put my dick inside my pants and I'm going to pull my fucking zipper up and I'm going to go listen now.
Yeah.
And then and genuinely listen. And then it's going to be hard to get me here. But now I'm going to listen. Yeah. And then the first thing that comes out of your mouth, when you get me to listen, was like, fuck off, defund you, you're stupid. Well, guess what? My fucking zipper is going back down and my dick is going back out and this conversation is over. And that's what bugs me about this black, like dude, what's the point? The point was to have a conversation. The point was to better things. It has now become an ego thing. It's now become like, oh, I got this rage in me. You gotta get out. I'm right. And I gotta do this thing to you. Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
Great. No one learned. And guess what? You're gonna be the old person next, and the younger generation's gonna do that shit to you, or whatever they feel. That's my rant. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
I don't get it. It's just like, and kind of something off, like I think even here, that's my thing for my Facebook. That's why I've been loud on Facebook too. I guess I just want to find the middle ground. I just don't like it when people go, fuck you. Because right now is the time to just like, yeah, say fuck. I like it. It's fun, you know. But it's different to like say express yourself, but it's different when you just call somebody idiots or names or whatever, because there's no more conversation. And I think right now, like it's so important with the COVID and with all this like social things going on, like conversation is essential. Not like talk, not like here's my point of view and what's your point of view, not debate, not who's smarter, but like actually find out where I'm coming from, where are you coming from, what's the conflict, and let's actually deal with this. But I'm not getting that anywhere. I just get you're stupid, and all fronts.
Yeah. Well, no, on my Facebook page, I'm certainly like, you're stupid, but I'm willing to have if someone wants to have a conversation. Here's the thing. I don't meet very many people who can have a conversation anymore.
That's the thing too.
Yeah, and part of the reason is there's so much information out there. If you even have a fraction of the information out there, and you start talking to a person who just thinks they have a fraction of the information, and you start, hey, did you know about this? Hey, are you aware of this? Did this thing factor into your decision? And they're like, and then the ego kicks in that they realize they didn't know shit, and they're screaming on the internet. Now, the police thing I think just a simple way of explaining it is humans like black and white. It is not black and white. Literally and figuratively, it is never black and white. There's so much.
It will never be black and white.
It will never be. And if you're not going to have the conversation outside of black and white, we're not going to actually have a conversation. So on the police side, they need better training. I think anyone who's a brain, they need better training. They need better selection.
And there are cops out there who genuinely want to do good too. People can accept that.
The media is just stirring the pot. And anyone who thinks otherwise is being delusional.
Facebook too.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, Facebook is a different animal. Let's talk mainstream media. Okay. They are stirring the pot. Now, if you understand, so in order to talk about what's going on in the world today, I need to understand what's the history of the media. I need to understand the history of the police. I need to understand financial stuff. I need to understand a bit of, like with COVID, of biology. I need to understand the racial tensions. I need to understand this. You see how complicated it gets? And most people, it's so overwhelming. Now, I'm a person that looks into this, and that's where I get frustrated, because I'm looking at all the little pieces, and I can actually talk about the entirety of the conversation, at least from as much as I've learned. Yeah. And then when I'm talking to most people are only coming from one perspective. So in order to talk about the police thing, we got to talk about the media and how their funding has been going. Well, guess what's happening in the media since the internet? They've been losing money nonstop, constantly. And you've been seeing the deterioration of media from news and information to clickbait. So we need to talk about that as part of the problem.
Yeah, I noticed that now too, right? It's just,
and they're not getting their money anymore. Right. And then we need to talk about,
and this kind of shit sells, right?
Yeah, it sells.
That's what I watched in news.
Yeah. And then you talk about Facebook and the media are hiring marketing psychologists to know how to hack your brain. They don't give a shit about you. They know how to hack your brain as far as how to present, to get the click, to get the thing. All they need you is to click. They don't care if you read the story, because they get the click, they get the money. Right?
Oh, it works. And these suckers get me all hyped up too and shit. Right? And then by the time 1 p.m. clicks, I go, what the fuck did I just do? I felt like I've been like puppeted.
Yeah. Yeah. Now then on the other side, I'm not black. I didn't grow up black. Whatever. Can we be honest about who's killing black people in America? For the most part, it's black people. It's according to the FBI statistics. It's according to the city statistics. It's according, you don't see that talked about anywhere.
It's game over now. Me and you will never walk.
Now, if you want to take I'm natural. Everyone knows that. Listen, I'm more center right politically for the reason that I believe in small government, but I'm open socially and drugs. I'm open to that stuff based on evidence. Now, if we want to talk about the left-wing attitude of, well, why are black people experience violence? Well, this is actually a universal thing. It's any place in any world, in any ethnic area, no matter the race, color, ideology, period, it's irrelevant. If you have no education and no money, it's more likely to be violent.
100%.
And
Philippines.
yeah.
Every country, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? I guess we're just
race. It's
yeah.
That's what it is.
The only benefit of other countries coming from is we're not as multicultural. So like it's just like.
But what does that even mean? Because like when I was living in Israel, in many ways I felt more multicultural there than here. Because I grew up in Richmond, man, and it went from one type of culture to it's basically Chinese culture now in Richmond. Except for some reason they keep electing white guys to run the city, which I think is hilarious. Either they don't trust their own people, or I don't know what Chinese it is. It's weird, but it's like it's the conversation is not being had that we need to talk about all the things on each side that are problematic, and we need to fix it. Like I think, yeah, go on.
No. Just to say something.
Yeah, it's just like if we want to be honest, is during COVID, because of the teachers union shutting down the schools in America, they don't know where 30% of the black kids are anymore. So don't talk to me about you care about education if during COVID you've lost track of these kids. Well, I can speculate. They're in gangs, they're on the streets, they're fucking around. I don't need the data to take a wild guess what those kids are doing now. Well, you know what they're not
they need
getting?
Something to do at those age. You need to belong to something.
Yeah,
no matter
they're not
what
getting
that
education.
Is.
I know that much. They're not getting an education, and that's what'll solve the problem. You know, any country that educates gets better. Period. That's just a fact at this point. And so like the police violence is, we need to talk about that. That yes, police are not trained. They need better training. They need better selections. You need to fucking fund them so they can do that, because if I'm a high quality person with high quality skills, I don't want to do that job for the amount you're paying me and the way you're treating me. That's
how everyone treats them now too, because that's what the media and Facebook and everyone teaches them how to treat them. Make their job fucking hard.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Do you know what I mean by that? Where like people are just purposely being confrontations just to be confrontations.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, maybe there's like a time and place, but people are like stepping over to the uneducated and ego. That's why.
Yeah. And you know, have you been to university all?
No, I'm not a smart man.
Listen, I went because like I chose to do psychology because I'm like, I want to see if the things I think about humans are true based on what's out there. What I got out of university was the state of science is not what we think it is. It's a lot of ego, a lot of bullshit. They're indoctrinating people in the universities now. They're not teaching. So this is my education is, here's what we know. Here's the best of our knowledge. Here's how we find more knowledge. Go be better. Indoctrination is, this is what we know. If you think anything else, you're a fucking racist. Right? And
is that why everyone's leaving university like that? Like one might.
Because people are hungry for knowledge and education, and that's not what they're getting at university. And so a lot of kids come from broken homes and have mental health problems, and they're learning about mental health all of a sudden in university because it's a new thing in human. It's a new thing. We didn't really understand it before. And that's why they talk about
the amazing part, learning about those kind of stuff.
Yeah. And yourself. Like, yeah, it's a safe space. You need to make a safe space for me. It's like, no, I need to give you the skills so you can be an adult and survive. But that's not what's happening in universities, because they're a business. They want your fucking money. They don't care about education anymore. If they piss off the students and the students leave, they lose the money. I learned that too going to a local university. They cared more about bringing in more students and bringing in more money than they did actually about developing the fucking programs that they had at their university. Right? And the system is collapsing because it's not about education. I don't know if it ever was, but it's not about educating. They're not educating people. They're brainwashing people. They're making people believe dumb shit. It's all about social stuff. It's a giant mental health crisis, and nobody is having a fucking conversation about what we actually know.
Can I rant something on that kind of point?
Yeah.
It's like all these people graduating now thinking like we never did anything in like 90s about racism and whatnot. Like we were so anti-racism in like you're around same age. You're like 90s kid, right? Are you?
Yeah, I grew up in
34?
90s kids. I was
Okay, yeah.
born in 87.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know, when I was watching TV and whatever, like the whole media was all about empowering women and stopping racism.
Yeah.
Right. And being free, and I think we're doing pretty good at that now, but and I think it was harder back in the day too. And I think now people are just like acting like we're like hardcore, like it's still hardcore out there, or like, obviously there's still like a lot of like racism and whatnot that needs to be, and like, feminism and sexism. I don't want to mention that, I'm going to get killed for this, right? But like, there's a big battle, but people are pushing it more than it should be. You know who I feel sorry for? Like the old school LGB community.
Yeah. Oh,
They have
I've had
hard.
some conversations with some, and they're not happy. They are not
Like
happy.
they've had it hard. I was watching a show with my mom, right? There's just a whole bunch of Filipino, I guess in the Philippines, for me, when growing up, like gay, like it's acceptable, right?
Yeah.
Nothing bad. It's just normal.
Yeah.
Right. And I guess the people who I grew up who are gays, and they're very powerful people, by the way. They're like my role models.
Yeah.
You don't mess with them. They're gangster. They know their stuff. They're cool, right?
Yeah.
But like they made fun of themselves, but but you have respect for them, right? But even them are watching a show. Some of them, they're talking about they're being corrected by the young people.
Yeah. It's like, you motherfucker.
Like, you don't know this and you don't know that. And then when the guy was just like, when they do that to me, I go, yeah, of course, you're right, because they're just confused now. And but the way I look at this, I feel sorry for them, because in the beginning they had harsh, they really did fought. There are really bigoted people out there, not even like close to supporting, like hardcore bigotry going on, and they really had to fight for that, right? They were really oppressed, and now you got this younger generation oppressing them for like having their point of view. I remember there's a video where like someone was like making fun of George, someone like said like Boy George, someone like said something to Boy George or something like that. I'm like, idiot, you guys know what this guy's been through, man, in the world back in the day where that wasn't okay. He went up there and he did his thing. Come a chameleon, red, gold, and green. And then guess what? He didn't go out there and go, hey, accept me. He just go, I'm gonna make the best freaking music there ever was. I just happen to be like this. And if they love my music, they're going to have to accept me. And I guess I'm all for that strategy. I don't really like to, I'm Filipino or I'm this, and you have to respect me for that. I'm just like, I'm going to be whatever I am. And I'm just going to shine at one thing.
Yeah.
And then whatever it is, that one thing I'm going to shine, I'm going to let my shyness go through. And then you go, hey, see that? This is from this weird motherfucker, apparently. And I did this amazing thing. Yeah. What do you got to say now? And I don't know. That's how I like to win things over. Like that's how someone would win me over. If someone tells me follow it because it's like this, first thing I'm like, fuck you. Yeah. But someone's like, you might think I'm weird, but here's this amazing thing I did, and I'm like, can't fucking argue that, man, because that's fucking amazing. And it's like, yeah, you still think I'm like this? I'm like, of course not, motherfucker. You did an amazing thing. And then that's what I did. I said, Boy George did, and then RuPaul and all that jazz, and like I'm a big fan of like the I watch it with my girlfriend a lot, the Drag Race. Sick. I love it. And then we're watching the Legendary show. It's like a fucking like kind of like the Vogue style dancing. I love it, right? But like, but now people like I see the younger generation, like they're getting like, they're attacking like they're super oppressed. And then they're attacking like all those pioneers that gave you permission to be like that. Yeah. So that's my thing. I'm just all about for being yourself. Don't over push. Like I don't believe in fighting for something so important and then turning it into a trivial battle.
Yeah, and I think
that's what's happening. Yeah. And then you're fighting people who actually genuinely fucking fought to get you there.
I know, right? Like I have a friend who's openly bi, and he was telling me, he's like, and I've met a few, like they're annoyed at the younger generation. Like, you think you're oppressed, motherfucker? I was almost beaten to death in a bar. What the fuck are you talking about oppression, right? Because he was around bigoted people at a bar who found out, hey, he's bi. They overheard his conversation and they beat the shit out of him. And he's like, you motherfuckers don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're not fucking oppressed. If you can get up on a float and dance around with your dick out. He was pissed, like, you know? What he was telling me, he's like, this is ridiculous.
Because my thing is like, it's a very important battle. It is,
Yeah.
because it's still part in other people's heart, and we have to get rid of it. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for just like find your happiness, and you go through whatever the fuck you want to find your happiness, right?
Yeah.
And don't let, just as long as your happiness don't intrude on other people's happiness. That's my philosophy.
Don't be a Karen.
Yeah. And I'll back
Leave me the
you
fuck
up
alone.
but like there's people who are just educating for educating's sake.
Yeah.
That's what bugs me, especially at very important subject matters. Because what happens is, like, it's like, here's the thing: a lot of people are on their side, but when you do that,
game, though. It's a social game, and what it is everyone wants to fit in. And here's the thing: you are not anyone. You are not fucking special until you do something special. Get your head out of your ass, okay?
Yeah.
Like people just
like, you're special that your mom loves you, and we can't take that away from her, and she has every right to. You know. Yeah.
Show the world you're special, or shut the fuck up, basically.
But that's powerful, because my mom loves me, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah. And I get in shit for this, is I really don't like positivity for the sake of positivity. I don't really like telling students that if you believe and you do, you can be the best. It's like, no, like, especially in physical things, I can try my best to help you be the best version of you can. But that does not mean you're all of a sudden going to be a magical special fairy beating Gordon Ryan. That is not happening. And people are so delusional. Like, if you walk in the door and you steamroll everyone, I'm like, oh, okay, man, we got something to work with here. But if you come in and you're like me or you, and it's like, okay, yes, it is true. If me and you hit the gym every day, we're in there for 3 hours, we put in the work, we will get better, and we will start crushing people. We still may never be. We may never be the Gordon Ryan. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. But that's true, because you're actually doing something. You're opening up a path for progression.
Yeah.
As opposed to the other one is just like nothing, door closed.
Yeah.
You're good.
And one, yes, you have to put in the work. If you do not put in the work, no matter what it is, you're not gonna get better. But there is, for every person, a wall where you're gonna hit it, and it's gonna be like, I will not be any better than this. And the hard part for humans is to realize that. Now you'll be better a little bit every day, because if you keep doing it, you will inherently get a little bit better, and you're going to refine. But you hit that point of diminishing returns, and this whole like positivity thing, it's like, because people like positivity, it makes them feel good. If you make people feel good about themselves, they want to keep coming, they want to keep doing. But my perspective, I come in from a real self-defense perspective. I don't give a fuck if you feel good about yourself. If you feel good about yourself and you get killed, what the fuck use am I? Right? What did I do for you? And it's a hard conversation to have, because people are all about positivity, and don't talk negatively, because in order to have these conversations, you're going to have to make people feel bad about themselves. It's going to be uncomfortable, and people avoid that to the death, because they want to feel special, they want to feel good, and they don't want to accept the reality of their world, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the middle thing. Like, I'm a big positive kind of guy, but I like realistic positivity.
Yeah,
I don't want like a delusional thing. My thing is like, hey, you know what? This is going to be a hard battle, and I'm going to throw in all the lamest positive stuff I have over there. But understand that this is going to be a hard battle.
Yeah.
Like understand that like there's some levels you're not going to reach. You can like work hard to break it, but it's the reality is you got to work hard.
Yeah, for sure. That's a given.
Yeah, that's a given. You know what I mean? And I guess the positivity I'm giving it is just like, so you can survive through that shit.
Yeah.
But I want realism. I think that's what a lot of people like are a lot of people are just in a world of fantasy. And I think that's what bugs me and you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then fantasy of like being victim, or fantasy of being the superhero, like no reality, you know? And then sometimes I think if you're the victim, guess what? You're not that much of a victim. You're more powerful than you are. And then the message for some of those people, guess what? You're actually not the shit. You're just like everyone else. And it's relative to the person. And it's important for whoever it is to hear it. It sounds like a cop answer, but I think that's I don't even know what the fuck I'm answering. I'm just kind of agreeing with you.
Well, let me go on the other side. Is that a lot of people genuinely don't know what they're capable of, and they need the encouragement to do it. So in modern world, if everyone's been sitting on their ass in as an office worker, they'll believe I can't do this, right? And so from
Yeah.
that perspective, it's like, dude, have you even tried? You don't know that yet. So that kind of negative self-talk is bad. It's like if you haven't actually tried to see if you can do it, then that's not good.
You
That's
lost.
where that's where positivity is good. What I'm
Yeah.
talking about is kind of is like the delusional, like, we need to be happy and positive, and I don't
Oh,
ever
yeah.
be negative, and don't ever tell people that they're doing something wrong. And it's like, the
No,
fuck
that
is
they're not
wrong with
seeing
you?
the fucking world.
Yeah, but like I have students all the time where they don't think they can physically finish my tests, but they do because my tests are fucking hard for a reason. They're hard, and I want
And
to
that's
show
more
people.
empowering too, to be
Yeah,
in that situation.
and I'm like, I know you're not an athlete. You can finish this test. Just don't quit. Like that part, if people don't realize what they're actually capable of. But in order to realize what your where that wall is, like, am I gonna be a
You
Gordon
have to be
Ryan or am I
honest.
gonna be in the middle? You gotta do the work. But then you get like David Goggins. You know David Goggins?
Yeah.
He's too much for me because I think he's gonna get people hurt because I mean he's hurting himself. Where he's like, just do it
Yeah.
and go and just go and you can believe. And it's like, dude, you're gonna get people killed with the way he approaches stuff.
Yeah. Or honestly, I would not want to sacrifice a part of myself in a long term for a short term positive gain. You know what I mean? I can
Yeah.
do that somewhere. I can do that something I can do that with something else.
Yeah,
It's
for
amazing
sure.
how you can push people. I like to take that philosophy, that extra 20% or something like that. But to just tell people to go crazy and keep running and fuck your knees.
Yeah. Yeah, it's stupid. Like I have bad knees. Like I actually well people are always like, am I gonna get hurt in Krav Maga? I was like, I hope not. I run a
I hope
pretty
that is the best answer.
safe
I'm gonna tell
thing,
that
but
too.
like
I pray you
I,
won't.
yeah, I hope not. It's a physical sport. I can't like I actually had someone get mad at me once because I couldn't guarantee them that they would never get hurt. I'm like, dude, it's a physical thing. Like that's delusional. And they're
You don't play
yeah,
sports.
yeah,
Any
I know,
sports.
right? And it's like, I've been more hurt from jujitsu, the gentle art, than I have from Krav.
Yeah, you fucking jiu-jitsu is a fucking lie.
But it's more to do with training partners. I only get hurt with the wrong people, right? If you're with the wrong spastic white belts or aggressive people, and to me, that's on the coach. The coach needs to be paying attention. Hey, you two do not partner together. I don't want you two together. Like that kind of stuff.
Like that stuff too. I've been thinking about that too. Like I just for people who just just help coach a whole bunch of different skill set and whatnot. It's sometimes you want to have you have to come I try like I'm a mean coach. I have some big guys who I'm coaching and I'm all nice over here and stuff. And I yell, I'm pretty mean. But a lot of those big guys, I trust them and I'm putting my name on them.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want my big guys to be crushing on the small guys.
Yeah.
First of all, you already have an advantage of being big. So put your ego aside. And then you're going to be, most of the time, you're going to be doing most of the attacking for sheer weight of your size.
Yeah.
So be more technical. You are blessed with the physical body. I don't care if you're fat or not. You're actually blessed since you do jiu-jitsu that you have your weight.
Yeah.
And then be technical with that. And it's going to play better in the long run. But I'm pretty anal on my students. And where am I going here? Jesus Christ. That's why I see him making fool of myself, getting me to talk for 2 hours.
No.
We were talking about, I went on my rant and totally lost track. We're talking about
teaching big guys, right?
Teaching big guys, putting their ego aside and then getting better. But there was a bigger point to do all this. Realistic and ego.
Yeah. Training.
Not training, not overseeing.
The walls.
Yeah, I guess if I have big guys, they're gonna hurt small people.
Yeah.
Because what's gonna happen is there's small people that's gonna be technical than them if they're better, and they're gonna use all their weight and then be heavy. And then I don't want that on for my guys. By my guy I mean people pay me personally for one-on-one. Yeah. Not just a one-off, but I'm talking about years. So pretty much you've had some students like that too. They're just in it. They're just your students, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm gonna brand somebody like they're gonna be BJJ student, I want them to be like not squishing small people. And if they have to suck for 2 years, I'd rather them suck for 2 years and be technical.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm saying that's a conversation. How do you handle those guys that are just rough? I know there's some people who are just sort of rough, and then they're the nicest people in the world. That's what we're talking about: training partners and injuring yourself.
Yeah. Well,
how do you have this conversation as a coach when I'm asking because I'm not sure. Maybe, but my lack of experience.
I'm pretty brutal about it because I'm like, listen, for jiu-jitsu, like, stop using your size. I'm not using my size. Yes, you are. I can feel it.
I get that.
Like, yes, you are. Stop bullshitting me. Like, if you're using tech, I'm telling you now, if you're a big person and you're actually being technical, you are gonna be much more efficient against me. I'm small and my jiu-jitsu is mediocre. So I know you're just using your strength because you're just squishing me. Why haven't you passed my guard yet?
Yeah.
You're big. If you're being technical, you should be passing my guard.
Yeah. And then if you're big, like my thing is with big guys, honestly, we're blessed to be more technical than the smaller guys for one reason, for offense at least.
Yeah.
If you take a big guy and a small guy to just, if you look at their, like, if you can put their whole jiu-jitsu journey as a white belt into a pie chart, you will find that this bigger guy's pie chart will be mainly attacking.
Yeah.
And the small guy's pie chart will be mainly on the defense.
Yeah.
Just because of how it goes.
Yeah.
If you're a big guy using your weight all the time, what a waste that opportunity that you've had to finesse and level up your attack to like a nice degree, because you have all this ability when you were starting out that you're on the attack. If you just waste all your time like just sitting on your opponent and then or just being heavy, then you're really you have this opportunity to try out more techniques and then like have it room for it to not, like, like a bigger guy, he can execute an offensive submission and he has more room to make mistake than a smaller guy. That's all I gotta say.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like there's a guy at Budo and he's like, I don't know, fucking 6'3", 4", 260. And when he first came in, I could mop the floor with him because he was just using his weight. Now he's getting technical. He's a blue belt now. Now he's getting technical. And it's like, I gotta fucking work. And sometimes I'm just too tired. Like, I'm just too tired. And then at that point, like, say he gets on mount, I'm just like, okay, you're not fucking submitting me, motherfucker. And I'm just going to stay there. Like, you're not fucking submitting me. Yeah. It's a defensive thing, right?
T-Rex keeps everything tight.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're big, and for jiu-jitsu specifically, if you're big and you're being technical, then you should be, unless they're a high-level small guy, you should be doing quite well against
most
them
of the offense,
yeah, just because of size and physics. Now, how do you get aggressive big guys not to be aggressive? Well, one way
they don't know that they're aggressive. Yeah. They're like the nicest guy in the world, right? Like,
the one way is, which will really depend on who's in the gym, is do you have a big guy who's high skill? Well, that'll teach them, but a lot of gyms don't have that. Now, if you can see they can control themselves, you can purposely put them with a smaller person that you know they're gonna go like I don't, and then they have to learn to be technical, because how do I roll with that smaller person without crushing them? But if they're a big guy who doesn't understand, like, don't crush people, then no, you cannot put them with the smaller people. You're going to have to constantly put them with the advanced people. All right, that's on the coach. It's like, do you really know your students enough to know who you can put? Because there are like some pairings, I'm like, no, you two are not going together because someone's going to get hurt, whether it be big and big or small and small. Now, Krav Maga, I, as a coach, I don't have a problem. If someone wants to do private lessons with me and is 260-pound and spastic, I'll do it for jiu-jitsu. I don't want to do that for Krav Maga. I'm going to get fucking hospitalized because of physics, and they're bigger, and now we're talking about striking, and I'm not going to sit there holding pads for you for half an hour where there's groin strikes involved if you don't know how to fucking control yourself. Like, I'm not interested in that. So if guys are too big, I'm like, no, do the group classes, and I'll put you with the big guys, because I'm not. I can.
You got to think about your future.
Yeah, like I'm a mediocre martial artist. I'm a much better teacher. That's my expertise. I'm an instructor, and I'll develop you over my skill set. And if people are like, oh, you're being negative, John, you're really good. It's like, yeah, but I actually don't want to put all my time into getting better physically because I like doing all this other stuff I'm doing. So it's just a reality. But
Where
you know what
where
I'm
are you
gonna
in
do?
your journey, right? How
Yeah,
old are you,
exactly.
and then where do you want to go, right?
Yeah, and
Sometimes
I'm
the
a good
best
teacher.
athletes are not the best coaches because
Yeah,
they're just natural.
yeah,
Sometimes the best coaches are like the one that's were like not necessarily the best athlete because they had to grind, they had to get to the next level,
yeah.
you know.
Or they're
And
driven.
that's
I
just my
am.
point of view too.
No,
Like
that's totally
like
valid. Like if you're driven, you will, and you really want to do it, you will get better. To what degree is
yeah,
up to the person, right?
person, time, age. Like I want to be the best. I want to fuck Gordon Ryan up. I never will. 39 years old, just
Yeah,
battling of getting in shape is my main battle more than
yeah,
anything. I believe in my jiu-jitsu. I think it's the shit. I think it'll get better.
yeah,
But like there's a limit. But I think I will produce better students than I can ever reach.
yeah.
And I think I'm at that point. I want to be a better coach than a better
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu player.
And I think
Doesn't mean I want
me
to.
being like
Doesn't
that
mean
too. I think it's a good way to coach. You know.
like I still want to be the best jiu-jitsu player as I can. I'm
Yeah.
still going to try to get the thing. But in reality, recovering knee surgery, 39 years old, I'm better off being a stand-up comedian.
Yeah. It's kind of. Did you listen? I'm sure you did. Gordon Ryan on Joe Rogan.
No, not yet.
No.
Like
Should. It's good. But he brings up a very, very valid point about coaching.
yeah,
Atos versus John Danaher. What does Atos do? Well, Atos, and this is very common. This is not a jiu-jitsu thing. This is just a people thing. Is that athletes who are driven and are physical want to go learn from the best. They want because they need the challenge physically. And so Atos is just attracting top talent. John Danaher is coaching it, right? He's building people.
like one
And as a
place like
result, people are coming to him.
yeah. So what you're saying, one place the best is the best, so they go there. So all the
Yeah.
other best go there. So a whole bunch of the best are already going just to sharpen each other out.
Yeah.
While Danaher is just like, all right, give me the motherfucking chisel and I'll chisel the shit out of this to
Exactly.
create the artwork. While they're like, all right, give me the best fucking marble, and the other like fucking marbles on you, fucking throw them at each other and they'll produce their own artwork, which is, I guess, true in its own too, right? But that's a good analogy, right? One like iron sharpens iron, and then the other one is like an artist trying intentionally with will, like a vision to create
Yeah.
an art.
Exactly. And if I sometimes for Krav, I get really athletic people that just destroy me, and they're not interested in Krav because it's not going to challenge them. They need to go be with the athletes.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a lot of big students who are athletic and just driven like that. Because Krav doesn't attract that in North America, in particular Vancouver, because
Yeah.
big, strong, athletic people want to go to competitions. They want to be challenged. They're seeking that out.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just
Yeah.
they went to the wrong place.
Yeah.
I guess like your Krav Maga is like my magic.
Yeah.
It's like I don't really care to fool other magicians. I can. I could do that with my jiu-jitsu. I don't care. My objective or magic is to entertain a layperson and then show them like a nice moment for that split second.
Yeah.
And I guess by layperson, someone who doesn't do magic. And Krav Maga, I guess correct me, right? I don't do Krav Maga. My knowledge of Krav Maga is only from like what I'm taking from you and my superficial YouTube knowledge, right? So, but like from my, I take it, it's just like you're telling you guys, hey, you're not gonna fucking knock out George St. Pierre or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But if you took everything I teach you and then apply it with like 100% intensity, I guess, you should be able to defend yourself against this idiot that have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah. And then get to survival and get out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the way I teach Krav is slightly different, more from a structural perspective, because I do like beginners, white belt, and then yellow, orange. I have separate the classes, and beginners is like I'm introducing you to theory and concept and teaching you how to be aggressive and controlled aggression and giving you the basic techniques that work for the majority of the kind of self-defense situations that people see all over the world. And then in color belt, lower level, we start looking at the grappling, the judo, the boxing, kickboxing, a little bit of sport because it makes you better, how to control people, and then at the advanced, the green belt, and not midway up, I'm teaching you what police are learning and how do I arrest people and how do I use
Just
a
to be more
firearm.
technical now.
Yeah,
Just
it's
if you want
job
to level it
specific,
up.
right? For most people, that's not self-defense. For most people,
They don't even need to get to that level.
yeah, most people, it's I need to realize, don't be in this situation. Hey, punch him in the face and run, right? Because again, if you got some big giant guy attacking you and you've been training 5 years, the big guy might still fuck you up. So you need to stun them just long enough to get out, right? And it's teaching people that it's actually one of the hardest things to make people understand because they've been watching YouTube or the movies. It's like, dude, yeah, if I go up against an MMA fighter, they're gonna fucking kill me. Okay, I'm not stupid, but if it's life or death, as I was saying earlier, they're not necessarily thinking about killing me. But if I kill them before they realize they can kill me, I win, right?
Yeah.
That's
It's
kind
like
of
knowing what battle you're in.
Yeah, it's a different mentality. Now, am I going to go around picking fights? No, because that's not self-defense. I do occasionally get a student who's like, yeah, I got in a fight again. I'm like, okay, I just need you to take a step back and ask yourself,
again.
Why is it again? What are you doing? We're in Vancouver. Like, legitimately, the only reason you get in fights all the time in Vancouver is you are actively searching for it.
Yeah.
They don't just pop out of nowhere. Even our shootings here, it's all fucking gangsters. They're not just
premeditated shit. Like,
yeah. Well, it's premeditated if it's gangster, but it's just like you just stop with this bullshit. If you're living in a city where everyone is shooting each other all the time, regardless of gang, that's a different story. But if you're in Vancouver, why are you getting in fights?
No, there should not be a gang. Unless there's like a 4-year time gap behind that, right?
It's like you need new friends. You need to make better decisions. Stop going to the club every week if you're getting in. I've been in clubs tons of times. I don't get in fights. So what the fuck are you doing? You know,
that's probably like the best self-defense. Like the advice he's probably gotten is that.
That's what really matters.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So let's say like a lady joins your program, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would you like? When would you know that you feel confident that they can defend themselves? Like what stages would they be at? And when you communicate that with them, and then like,
it's a good question.
Like, because I know some people.
Yeah,
some people like who would just be like, I've done this thing and then I've done that, and like I can like it works, and I'm just like, please do it for 4 more years.
For people like that, you have to ask them. And again, people will get offended when you start prying. Is have you ever actually been in a violent confrontation? Because if they haven't, they're being a Karen, right? What's special about Krav Maga is that whether it was intended or not, it's training people's nervous systems to be absolutely overwhelmed, to get used to the sheer terror you're going to experience in a real violent situation. Because often people can know all the techniques, all they fucking want, but when real violence happens, people are often overwhelmed because it's so different than what they're... So Krav Maga, the aggression aspect of Krav Maga and the training methodology, the goal of it, whether the Israelis know how to explain it or not, because usually they fucking don't, is I'm training your nervous system to deal with being overwhelmed so that you can perform and survive. Now, again, physics. A lot of people don't like my teaching because I'm being honest with them. You're a 100-pound girl. You're not physically gifted. You can train with me for 10 years, and you may still have situations that you're not getting out of easily. But what I can tell you is the more willing you are to be violent to them, in most cases, the more likely they are to back off. However, you're a 100-pound girl doing Krav Maga. You've been doing it for 10, 15 years. You go down to Mexico City. I'm picking on Mexico City today. I don't know why. You say something to a cartel member. Yeah, you say something to a cartel member. How do you think that's going to go? A cartel member.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure like a 250-pound guy, MMA champion, says something to a cartel member, it would go the same way.
The difference is that martial artist, that MMA person may just be like, what the fuck are you talking about, like Mighty Mouse? Like, leave me alone. Or they might deck you once and then they realize they're going to jail. That's not what the cartel member is going to do. They might rape you and torture you until they're bored and then kill you. Yeah. And you tell a lot of women this, or small men too. Hey man, like, what's going to save you is learning to be a fucking maniac. You train as hard as you can. You learn the technique as best as you can. You learn that you have a size disadvantage and you need to be a fucking psycho. But even if you're a fucking psycho, you need the technique. And for you, unfortunately, the size, you need to do this for 10, 15 years. And even then, you still might run into a situation against some monster. Like me or you run into the mountain from Game of Thrones and he's actually trying to kill us. What the fuck can we do against a guy like that? Without a gun.
I'm going to have to go psycho mode. First, I'm going to accept the fact that I'm dead.
Yeah, that's one way to do it.
I'm going to be like, okay, I'm dead now, but I'm going to be that fucking bullfrog for all my fucking fellow frogs out there, or that puffer fish, you know? Like, I'm going to make this predator regret eating this motherfucker.
Yeah. And with women, it gets really complicated, and people don't like to talk about it because of the whole mental health, like sexual assault stuff. But people are sheltering people too much. Like, hey man, it sucks something happened to you. Because whenever someone says to a woman, don't fight back, you'll just get hurt, I want to smack them metaphor. Like, I'm like, no. Because now they're a victim. Now that person knows that they can attack them again and again and again.
Yeah, go fucking ham.
Yeah, you go fucking psycho. And they even if they were successful in whatever they were doing, unfortunately, it sucks. I'm sorry. But now they know better.
They're going to think twice.
Yeah, now they know better. And they're going to stay away. And then they'll go and say to everyone, that girl's a fucking psycho. Stay away from her. And then all they have to do is be honest. No, motherfucker, you try to rape me? Of course I'm going to be a fucking psycho. But a lot of people don't want to. Like, teaching Krav Maga and being around, I know girls who've been raped. I know girls who fought back. I know girls who didn't fight back. I know girls who've been raped multiple times. And the girls who've been raped multiple times, they're making a decision. And this is going to get me in trouble. It's the same concept. Now, if you grow up in I should clarify. If you're growing up in a household where the parents are doing it and it's a child, this is a very different scenario. I'm talking about adult women. They're now adults, and it's happened to them a couple times. Okay, well, now we have to have the conversation. You're picking the wrong people to be around. You're trusting the wrong people. You're making the wrong decisions. Because a guy like me, I'm not going to rape you. Like, what the fuck? I know guys out there who's like growing up, their view of women, and even though they respect women, but how they treat the sexual aspect is like, huh? Like what you just did, I think that's rape. And sometimes the women will be like, whatever. And if that's how the woman feels, okay. And other times they're going to be like, they raped me and this, and who am I to tell that person how they dealt with it? But the idea that it's always one way or the other is not. It's not black and white. As I said, some people can handle it, some people can't. Is it right that happened? Absolutely not. But all you can do is fight back and make it very clear to this person, I am not a victim. Fuck you. Right? And again, I will always take a step back. And you don't always know because they say the guy is a sociopath or psychopath. You can't always know. It's too hard. Like, it's difficult. They're very good at faking it sometimes. But it's like you gotta... If you get that feeling that I don't know about this person, don't go be somewhere alone with them. Hang out with them, with their friends for a long time. And again, sometimes guys are good at this. They're tricky, and all of a sudden they're alone and they flip. Right?
It's hard too because I bet there's trust, right? And then if there's trust, and then it's like a weird thing of like, I'm starting to put myself into their psyche. Like if you trust them, and then you're more thrown off than anything.
Yeah, and it's a very difficult topic because as a man in this world, they'll be like, you don't understand. You're not a woman. You don't feel fear. And then first of all, my response is like, are you saying men don't feel fear? Are you saying men don't feel fear? I'm terrified half the fucking time. Again, I should have been beaten up. Is it the same as being raped? No. Why didn't I? Because I made it very clear I'm not a fucking victim. And then at the same time, I know women who it never happens to them. Why? Now, again, if you grew up in a household where there is an abusive situation in your child, it's very different. The psychology is very different. The child doesn't know any better, right? And they don't understand. And that's an abusive, predatory situation. It's very different. Okay, now you go to adult. Like, there's this idea, people who are sexually abused abuse other people. And it's like, statistically, that's not true. That's actually not true. It's a lie that's being told by Hollywood and the myths that we believe. Usually, people actually overcompensate for what their parents are. Most people who are abused as children go out of their way not to be abusive. Most of them, right? And so, if we don't want people aren't having these conversations, people will shut you down now because they'll say, "You're not accepting my truth." It's like, what the fuck is your truth? I can look at all the data, all of it, and say, "Hey, I understand how you feel. Stop with this my truth bullshit. I'm sorry that happened to you. Let's do what we can so it doesn't happen again." And if it happens to you repetitively, it's no different than the guy who keeps getting in fights every weekend. What is going on?
Yeah.
Right? And now we can...
What's this word again?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a difficult conversation. I'm sure someone's going to yell at me for what I just said, but it's the truth. It's not...
It is. It's like hard.
You know?
I think people should just understand where the conversations is coming from. And then there's people out there who just purely wants to have an ego conversation or feed their ego. And there's people, I think, Brain, you're saying both. We're threading. We're trying to... It's very important to have this conversation. And it's very touchy.
Yeah.
And then it can easily be the bad guy. But I think it's very important. Conversation needs to be had, obviously, because it's already sensitive.
Yeah.
And then
most people don't, like, they talk about COVID. I don't want to go too much into COVID, but...
Me too, but like, this is important.
There's something wrong with what we're being told. There's something very wrong, right? And the stories aren't adding up. What we're being told is it's not making sense. And before people, the science... Listen, man, there are a lot of doctors and scientists out there, a lot, that are saying something is wrong. No matter what side of the story you're on, if we're not having the conversation, there's clearly some corruption going on. There's clearly some ego, and there's a shit ton of fear. A shit ton of fear.
Yeah.
And I noticed, and I got in trouble for this, me being myself, in the martial arts community locally, I said, listen, guys, we need to stand up and say no. We all don't agree with this. And we're in BC. Like, if you understand BC, if you yell at the government enough, they back down usually. This isn't Alberta. This isn't Ontario, where they're being absolute fucking psycho-authoritarian nut jobs. That's not even scientific at all. Where are all the people who are saying follow the data and science? You know what the data and science says? Don't fucking do lockdowns. What the fuck are you fools doing? This has nothing to do with science anymore, okay? It should be obvious to everybody. This has nothing to do with science. But if we talk about it, a lot of people that I've talked to are like, I just want to be left alone. I want things to go back to normal. They don't want to have the conversation because someone somewhere is controlling the narrative that even if I show you science and data and evidence, you are ignoring me, but I can't have the conversation, or you don't want to have the conversation because you feel uncomfortable, that you don't want to be socially ostracized. It's the same for talking about rape and violence, honestly. It's the same for talking about, the policing issue. It's the same for talking about what's going on with COVID. No, as you quite rightfully pointed out, nobody's actually having a conversation about this stuff. There are merits to both sides. Both sides have arguments that are valid, and you cannot shut down. Both sides also have arguments that are total bullshit. I'll put that out completely.
And here's the thing too. I think there's truth in both, in any argument, right? And then like the thing is, if truth on one argument doesn't mean that everything else is totally not true. It's like COVID is the weirdest thing. My interpretation with COVID is like this. It's like it's like how it's placed. It's like we have to work as a team to make it work.
Yeah.
But the two decisions to make it like right now are like so fucking opposite of each other.
Yeah.
I think everyone genuinely wants best, but the answer requires to be united. But then the answer is like so separate from each other. And then and then everyone genuinely believes like whatever side they are is like right. And then they won't even like go for like a conversation. Like my situation is weird. I was hardcore Karen in the beginning, 100%.
Yeah.
But I was scared in the beginning because I was like, I did not want to give people up their excuses to play their fucking games. That's why.
Yeah. And what kind of game?
I was a little bit of, I don't know. You just, with this COVID, like I don't want to talk specifically or whatever. It's like, okay, can I tell you my history?
Sure,
a little bit of background?
Yeah, absolutely.
My dad was a politician in the Philippines. He was on the Marcus side, right? And then, like, so I grew up weird. Like, my dad was 60 and my mom was 30 when they had me. So I'm that other kid from the other family, right?
Yeah.
And I was raised like nicely. Like people had to suck up to my dad. So my nannies were like people trying to get into the politic games, right?
Yeah.
But like I asked my dad, like, what's politics like? He just laughed and he said, like, don't do it. But here's how people make money in politics. And Philippines is a very, very like rough version, but I'm pretty sure it's happening over here.
Everywhere.
He says this: there's a bridge, and there's a budget for that bridge, and it's 1 billion pesos.
Yeah.
Okay. Now Marcus or so and so is going to go, hey, you take that project. It's like, okay, perfect. I have this $1 billion bridge project. I don't have resources or equipment to make it. I'm going to pass this contract on to somebody. Hey, Fred, you want to take on this $750 million contract?
Yeah.
To make this bridge? Fred's like, hey, I'm your boy. That's why you talk to me. We'll get that shit done.
Yeah.
Fred takes it. Fred goes, I need to get this bridge done. I don't have any subcontracting company. I'm just a governor or whatever. I know my friend Jason does. Hey, Jason, take this bridge. We'll get this bridge fixed for 500 million. Yeah. Jason's like, oh yeah, I got my people. We'll be on top of this shit. So Jason's got that contract now, right? Now I'm going to get this now. But then now eventually when it gets to like the people who are actually doing it, that budget's going to be like $100 million.
Yeah.
That's how you have like $300,000 hammers and shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's like Philippines. That's like rough. Like they lack subtlety. Now imagine all the finesses and like the techniques that they have. Like, I'm just thinking, as a magician, I can finesse a lot of people's perception in a controlled room. Imagine if you give me like fucking lots of employees and billions of dollars, I can pull some crazy fucking illusion shit, man. Myself, just with my limited knowledge, give me a budget, I can make people fucking do crazy shit, just like subtle hints of perceptions and here and there. I don't know. I'm just fucking seeing that. Like, I can't really call it out, but for me, who's someone who would like to make moves like that, like COVID is a perfect place to make lots of moves. Perfect place to make decisions for yourself. Perfect place to like make laws that'll be like, oh, you know what, man? We're having a hard time managing yourself. Maybe we should put this in a little bit. Just so you don't say shit that's bad. Let's manage the internet a little bit.
Yep.
Hey, let's stay home a little bit longer. Just a little bit. Because we're COVID. I'm like, I believe in the virus. I believe in that. And then I had to, because of like my situation. I really did not know. And I take care of my mom and she's very sick. Right? So like just the cards I was dealt with, I had to follow 100%. But in my heart, I'm like, someone called this motherfucker out, right? I'm dealt with a 7-2 offsuit. I have to fold this motherfucker. But if I had a fucking jack, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or like I have a king ace, I'm gonna call this motherfucker. So like, I want people to call, but I folded. Yeah. So like that's because that's the card I was dealt. But now it's kind of like weird. Like now I'm like, like my mind is a little bit. I'm still on the cautious side. Yeah. I bend the rules a little bit, especially all those freaking people from Alberta. Guys, stay at home. They fucking go to Hawaii. Motherfucker, I want to go to Hawaii with my fucking girlfriend, but I didn't. I had to fucking follow the rules. Yeah.
Well, see, I think
but now with this COVID, I'm just...
Like, if I talk to someone who's really scientific, and there are a few in the martial arts community who I think are just being arrogant prats, they refuse to acknowledge the corruption. There has never been a clearer case of global corruption. Now, if you're on the right and you're saying a pandemic, shut the fuck up. It's more like Hillary Clinton said, never waste a good crisis. This thing happened. They're like, sweet. Now we can play with it. We can
on top of it. They probably had playbooks for like, not this specifically, but a variation like this.
Yeah. Now on the other side, if you're like, you need to get the vaccine or you're going to die. I'm like, shut the fuck up. That's not at all what the science and data is saying. You're a fucking hypochondriac. Shut up. And, if I talk to people who can actually understand the science, like for a non-scientist, I think a decent, my girlfriend's way better than me on this, but I have a decent understanding, but it's a decent enough that's more than the average person. And then, like if you don't want to talk about PCR testing and how it's been manipulated and abused with regards to COVID numbers plus and minus, we're not having a conversation because you need to acknowledge the PCR testing, which was the globalized standard, has been used to manipulate plus and minus. In Canada, I believe, and this is where it's so Fauci even said anything so the way PCR testing loosely works, right? This is the general standardized testing to see if you have COVID. It's something to do with cycling, whatever that means, cycles, 30 cycles, 10 cycles, 20 cycles. Even Fauci said something. If you're testing people at over 30, 34 cycles or higher, you're basically going to test positive for fucking anything. Well, what's the standard they've been using in a place like Canada? 40, 45. So now we're not really trying to test. You're not contagious if you're doing that. Now they're saying, hey, if you get vaccinated, we're going to give you a PCR test cycle at 28. But if you're not vaccinated, we're going to give you it at 40, 45.
So it's pretty subjective then, right?
They're not being scientific. Okay, hey, dickheads, what level do I need to test?
Should they all be the same as a way to show if the vaccine is working or not?
It should be. At what level do I need to test you that if you're over the or under the level and you test positive, you will be contagious? That's the only number that matters. Why are you guys testing at such a high level that everyone's going to test positive for this shit? Even the creator of the test said, what the fuck are you doing with my test? It can test positive for COVID, for sure. But they're using it
That's
wrong.
Something a magician would do.
Exactly. And if you're not going to talk about that, the creator of the test even said, listen, yes, this test can test positive for COVID. You're all using it wrong. This is not how the test is supposed to be used. Right? You find out. If I test at 20 and they test positive, are they contagious? Yes? No? So if the answer is no, well, I need to go lower. I need to go down to like 15. Are they contagious? If the answer is yes, okay, maybe we should go up to 18. If I test at fucking 40 and you test positive and you're not at all contagious, and you're not a threat to the general health of the public, what the fuck are you doing? You're fear-mongering. You're not being
especially if they're running it like they're treating it like worse than what it is, right?
Yeah. And it's like, for sure, people are dying. Like, I think you have to be a complete asshole to be like, nobody's dying of COVID. There is no way you would get the entire global community to agree to something if people weren't already dying. I think it was just a snowball effect of China has done a masterful puppet job globally. And I think we have 20 years or less till we go to war with them or something, because they're being dickheads. And it was a snowball effect. Like, why is China freaking out like that? Why is China freaking out like that? China doesn't freak out like that. They must be doing something. And then the public started saying as well, if China's freaking out like that, why aren't you freaking out like that?
Yeah,
and it just
that's honestly, that's how I acted, right?
Yeah.
Like you described like me. I just remember at work making fun of them in February. Yeah. Next thing you know, fucking end of February, all this fucking shit was happening, man.
And I didn't take it very serious at all. And initially, like I didn't take it serious whatsoever. But why? I was actually listening to virologists, immunologists that were not in the mainstream media. I was listening to podcasts of direct source information. And they're like, don't worry about this. Like, it's just another coronavirus. It's weird. This has some attributes that the other ones don't. It's weird. And that's what we're concerned about. But they were saying, hey, man, be healthy. Don't worry. We'll figure this out. We'll get a vaccine eventually. And so I was like, okay, nothing to worry about. And then when Israel, who is very medically high, started freaking out, I was like, okay, maybe I should be a little concerned. But then I actually understand Israel, the culture of Israel. It's because it's kind of ruled in many ways by the religious ideology, even though most of the country is not religious. The religious ideology is that one Jewish death is too much. So if you're coming from the perspective no one can die, then you're going to shut everything down. But according to the science, it really wasn't necessary. Because who was dying? In Canada, the median age of death is 84 or something. So, okay, come on, guys. If it's people over 80, for sure, are at risk. They're at risk. People 70 to 80 are going to be high risk. People who are obese are extremely high risk. People who have diabetes are extremely high risk. And then there's people with extreme low rates of vitamin D who are at high risk, because there is a high correlation of low vitamin D and severe COVID. So, okay, then the argument is we need to protect the medical system. It's like, okay, that's a fair argument. We do not want it to get overwhelmed, so it shuts down and people will die. Okay, but why are we shutting everything down? Who's at risk here? We need to protect who's at risk. People under 40 with no pre-existing conditions should have never had to shut anything down.
But sometimes in the news, once in a while, there's a video of a healthy person that gets sick.
That's normal, though, unfortunately. It's genetics. No, this is where I get annoyed, particularly for nutritional
Because they could have
science.
just gotten the flu or whatever.
They could have just got. Man, genetics is weird. We don't know. Like to me, we're not at the point until we're Star Trek where I can scan you. Hey, I have this vaccine. I'm gonna scan your genetics. Okay, we're just gonna tweak it a little bit for your genetics, so you're fine. Until we're at that point, you will never, ever, ever not have someone die from something. Right? It's unfortunate. It's called the genetic lottery. People don't want to play that game because, oh, what if it's me? It's like you're actually more likely to win the actual lottery than be that fucking 10-year-old who dies of COVID. So can we be honest about the reality here? And they use it. They keep bringing up the cases of you see a young person died. You may
Where I've been thrown off now is they're just like people are just picking their arguments. So like the media, you know what I mean? One side will be like, no one's getting hurt, and then the other side is like really exaggerating stuff that's just like out of the norm and making it norm, and then really fucking up people's worldview. For me, I'm very careful when I'm talking COVID.
Yeah, people get nuts about this. Like I'm stopped talking to people because of this. Because I'm like, it's a few people in my life that it's very clear they choose fear.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't.
For me, I have no idea.
I don't want that. Yeah.
It's like I would go ham by myself, like, like bend some stuff. But I also know I'm like not educationally versed enough to totally back what I read. But that's my personal self.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair. You always question your sources. Like, where are you getting your sources? Now, what I'll say is...
all I know is like where I stand fully is I agree with you. Like, I know there's subtleties. I know I just know virus real. And then right now I'm questioning like how like on my personal experience of meeting people, it shouldn't be that bad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like from like my worldview and then my group of friends, I joked around with my friends, like, how bad is COVID? I've had so many people who had COVID and wished, I'm just joking, like this is, don't really wish it, but I'm just like joked around, like I wish that they would like get hurt or whatever. I don't want to say the D word, right? Yeah. But the joke was they never did. Yeah. So how bad is that, right? Yeah. But at the same time, there's probably a whole bunch of subtleties like I'm not aware of that I can't argue somebody who's smart who would talk that to me. One thing I know for sure is that there's a lot of like fuckery going on with laws, and a lot of shit are being overstepped and overbound that's not necessary. And a lot of it is just like, if we give in to certain stuff, it's not about protection anymore. It's just pretty much
fear. It's fear
playing a move that we can't go back from. Like, I'm not really a big fan of like passport, and people think I'm overreacting for this passport. So my friend, you just get the vaccine, or like what? Personally, for me, like I would get the vaccine. I don't really care. You know what I mean? What I don't like the idea of is just like having an important like vaccine passport. Like, so it's hard to explain. But if we agree to something like that now, there's just so much shit with that logic that you can fuck around with in the future if it becomes like a norm. Like manipulate, like finessing, and really, so that who really have power now is the vaccine. The vaccine becomes more than what it is to help someone better. It just becomes a very, very powerful political tool. They can really, like, if I was like using the vaccine as a magician to fuck someone over, that's the perfect thing for me, because now I have this absolute thing that no one can question, that is the rule, and it has the rule to govern everything. Well, I don't know. I might just be thinking.
No, it's totally valid. Like, listen, and people will be like, "Oh, when we have kids, you get vaccinated. They give you a little card." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. A little piece of paper that says, hey, I got it. Okay, so leave me alone." But to track it and use it to create the class system, you've basically set
you can go to concert, can get a job, can travel.
You've basically set up the system for an authoritarian global government, and people are like, "That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen." It's like you're watching it happen right now, and you're saying it's never going to happen. What is wrong with you? You know, Alberta and Ontario are so disgusting right now.
Okay, one of the best moves from magic is time delay. I'm going to go do something that needs to get done, and I'm going to leave it enough time for people to forget that the move was done. So when I do it, they can't associate that. So time delay for a magician can be like 10 minutes or whatever, or a minute or two. But if you're gonna play like governing time delay, it's you do a move, you do 20 years, you let it simmer down, but that shit's implanted, that shit is done, it's rooted.
It's fact that they know,
and
this.
Then you go into the next phase.
Huh? Like they know this.
And I'm just mean.
You can see this in government elections.
That's just
is you need to avoid a scandal right before the election. That will sink you. Usually, if a scandal happens look at happen in BC. I'll be fair to the BC government. They're being a little bit more scientific behind closed doors than Alberta and Ontario are, but they're just a clusterfuck with their policies. It makes no sense. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. But the timing of the election, they did it for a reason. They did based on the popularity of Bonnie Henry at the time, who I believe didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. Oh, BC numbers are low. Yeah, maybe that's to do with the giant Asian community here that was scared and hiding. I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with her. They used her popularity. They timed it to get an election, to get a win in a landslide because people like her image, and then immediately, boom, crackdown. Oh, the second wave. It's like, hey,
what did you do?
You didn't do this during the first wave. You didn't act like this during the first wave. Why? Because you didn't have the power. Everyone kept saying, hold on, hold on, hold on. Now you have the power. Second wave comes, which was nowhere near as bad, and you're fucking thump. What the fuck?
Lock down everything.
And that's how politics works. Is people don't vote based on policy. They don't they don't give a shit. It's, do I like how they sound? Do I like this thing they said?
Yeah.
Do I remember a scandal they just have? The one thing that will sink politicians is economic crash. But everything else, is there a scandal right now, right before the election? That's it. Because people don't care.
Yeah. And then the thing's right now, and then people forget. They forget 6 months. They don't care 6-7 months. That was old story. This old news. I'm like, you guys, it worked. It fucking worked, man.
Yeah. And it's not paranoia. These are known strategies used by politicians, corporations, Facebook. They put a lot of research into it. They know what they're doing. This is not conspiracy. So I read a book in, I don't know, a long time ago. Anyways, a guy in the 90s, it was an Israel, served in the Canadian Army. He was Canadian, went to Israel, liked it, converted to Judaism, served in the Israeli military, and then got into Mossad, right, the spy agency. Anyways, he wrote a book, and one of the pieces of information has always stuck with me. He's like, the key to spycraft isn't being honest or dishonest. It's just putting enough bullshit, like 10% bullshit out there, and it confuses people. So actually what it means is a lot of what you're hearing is probably true. To some degree or level, the details may be off, but you just need enough complete crap out there to throw it up. Like let's say someone is making a legitimate, valid argument about what's wrong with the vaccine, scientific, boom, and then they're like, I'm a flat earther. Well, what is the average person going to be like? Oh, fuck, they're nuts. I'm not paying attention to them now. Even though they laid out a perfect argument. I actually was watching a scientist who was talking about, and she did that, and then the last 5 minutes, 10 minutes was like woo-woo bullshit. I'm like, that's the fucking problem. Keep that out of your discussion. Don't fucking say that shit.
Yeah.
Because now nobody's going to take you seriously. You actually made a scientifically based sound argument based on facts, logic, data, and then you went and said something stupid like that. It's like, oh my God. Like, why?
You're doing good, man, and you fell for the trap, man.
And now I know, even though what you were saying is probably true, everyone is going to use that clip to be like, well, they're a flat earther. All right? And I was like, oh, for
done. Game over.
It was like,
thanks, Eddie Bravo.
Yeah, I know. The BBC was running a hit piece, the BBC on Joe Rogan, about the comment he said that people who are young probably don't need to get vaccinated. And I'm going to get in trouble. I agree with that. If you're young, healthy, you make sure you keep it up to date. I don't think you must get, if you feel like it's for you, fine. Okay, I don't care. But the must, I don't think so. I don't think it makes a fucking difference based on actual science. And they were shitting on him. But before they actually said what he said, he's like, Joe Rogan, this and that and da-da-da-da. And he said, it's like, none of that setup was necessary. You're framing him as something, you know?
Well, it was necessary for their agenda, right?
Yeah. But here was the fucked up part. The episode that he got in trouble for was the episode right before the Josh Rogan podcast, who basically implied Fauci's corrupt. They didn't talk about that podcast because they don't want people to listen to that podcast. They talked about the podcast before where he was talking to his comedian buddy about whatever. And the podcast right after, which is where when they started releasing the hit pieces, was a Washington Post reporter whose Washington Post guys are left wing, okay, laying out a very well made argument, naming names with time history about the fact that Fauci may mean well, he's corrupt. That's all he's really implying. You can think what you want about the science. Fauci's corrupt. It's very clear. He's corrupt.
Want to elaborate on that? I didn't see that part.
Yeah, so it's to do with...
In a nutshell.
There's two camps about pandemics. How do we stop pandemics that are catastrophic to humanity? One camp is the Fauci camp. It's the idea that we can manipulate genetics and manipulate viruses so we can watch them grow and evolve so that we can learn from them. The other camp is, you're not fucking God, you're going to get us all killed, you're nuts. Well, which camp are you hearing from? You're hearing from the Fauci camp, right? What was the Wuhan lab doing? They're part, I forgot what the type of science is, they're part of that camp that believes in modifying and experimenting and seeing stuff. This is not debatable. This is a entirely form of scientific community that believes that. The other side that's saying this is dangerous, you're going to get us killed because we don't know enough about viruses and genetics to do this safely, is being silenced. You don't hear from them unless you go into podcasts, unless you go to their personal websites. Most people don't do that. And the only place they can get a voice is on the conspiracy theory type people, which means they get discredited further. Well, Fauci... Obama, according to Josh Rogan, stopped the funding to this type of science, this type of endeavors, because they feel it was dangerous. And under the chaos of the Trump admin, you can think what you want about Trump. I liked his policies. I understand why people hate him. He's a loudmouth asshole. Okay? But under the chaos of the Trump administration, Fauci, and this is according to Josh Rogan, so I'm sure, I'm going to assume he's got good sources. Fauci quietly started funding again. Now, I just saw an interview with Rand Paul in Congress asking Fauci about this. And now he kept saying, we did not fund that. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean by we? He's not elaborating. What does that mean? Because he could still be telling the truth. Who's we? Are you talking about the U.S. government, the CDC? Because you might have secretly put, according to the allegation, you started the funding again. And then the funding kicked in, and what happened? Coronavirus. Now, that's speculative. That's very speculative. But there's enough questions here that there should be a proper investigation. And they'll be like, hey, according to Josh Rogan, we investigated the Wuhan lab. They had nothing to do with this. And then Josh Rogan's point was, listen, who investigated it? It's a group of scientists from America who like the scientists and are friends with the scientists at the Wuhan lab because they all agree with what they're doing. He's like, that's not very objective, is it? And without any evidence, just from a logical perspective, what's more likely? That this virus accidentally got out of the two labs right there that study this shit and experiment on this shit, and China's known for not very good safety protocols, or some fucking bat flew or got to that market and someone ate it. Just which one's more likely logically? It's probably someone fucked up security-wise and they got out of the lab. It doesn't mean someone intentionally did it. It's just probability-wise.
Yeah, just some human error. It's
human
more
error.
Human error than like...
Right? And there's people saying, no, that didn't happen. We looked into it. Nothing. It's like, I'm sorry, probability-wise, that's probably what happened. I'm not going to say blame. You should look into the safety protocols now of the lab. But the real question is this type of research safe to do or not? And based on what just happened with coronavirus, I actually don't know, because if I take the stance that I don't think coronavirus was that bad and we should not have shut down the world, then maybe not.
You would agree with them.
Then it's like, it's not that dangerous.
Yeah,
but then
it's just how people are reacting to it.
How people have reacted to this, I'm like, huh? But at the same time, I don't believe they have as much knowledge and capabilities as they do right now. And they could create a virus that is actually super, super dangerous. Now, again, I'm taking the stance. I don't think coronavirus is that bad. You should have protected the vulnerable. I think government's completely fucked everything up. And I think you've seen the power of mob mentality and fear. And that's why I'm going nuts, because I don't think anyone's being rational and reasonable about this. And I'm losing my fucking mind, because it's the same for me always. I'm just tired of this shit. People being completely delusional or stupid on either sides of it. I'm seeing people on both sides of the camp being absolutely crazy. And it just shows you, like, listen, maybe here's the thing. We need transparency. Where's our money going? What are you doing with it? I want to see it cleanly accessible. If you're telling me I don't understand what I'm talking about, can you explain it to me? Please,
elaborate it. Like,
elaborate.
Stop fucking hiding the shit behind you. Explain.
Please
Who's
explain.
sponsoring you? Who's paying you?
Yeah. Where's
Why are your choice decisions like this?
And that's all I think a lot of people are asking for. Can you be honest? Like, the Canadian governments have basically said you're all too stupid to understand. I'm like, some of us, I agree, some of you are too stupid to understand the stance. Fine. Some of us are not.
But at least have it there for the people who can.
Yeah, exactly. And I know that's very offensive to tell people you're not smart enough to understand it. That's a lot of people. I'm sorry. That's the truth. That doesn't make you less of a person.
Yeah, it's just not their field.
Understand. Yeah, some of us understand it. Okay, show me the data. Let me see it. Why are you hiding it? My understanding of BC government is they don't want it to get about racial stuff. Racial stuff. They're like, oh, people are going to be all like racist. I'm like, why? If it's coming from a certain country, maybe you should stop the travel.
Let's do something about it.
Just a thought. Yeah. You know, maybe it's got nothing to do with race. It's in that country right now. There's an outbreak. Maybe it's a good idea to stop travel. It's got nothing to do with race. You arrest anybody.
I wish it was Filipino stuff. If it was, they'd be like, yo, Filipino people, stay in Philippines. Come here next time. What the fuck? Let's go.
Exactly.
Shit. Don't worry. We'll send the money home. That's how it works anyways.
And anyone who commits a racist, violent act should be arrested and charged accordingly.
Yeah.
Just do that. It's not a big deal. I mean, it shouldn't be happening, but I can't control that person, how they're feeling. They're a shithead. Okay, put them in jail.
It's all control here, man. There's a lot of like information. There's a lot of like very, very conflicting information for this, and a lot of scientific stuff that's like I won't even understand.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's fine.
And then like, but it's all fucking planned. But one thing people can't like, it's like what you said. When people can, I just hope that the people who are like on the scientific side, the expertise side, like believe the science and understand it. Like, I think I'm an expert at one thing, right? As an expert at one thing, I already know. I don't, as an expert, other experts don't really fucking know their shit as much too. Like, you know it to a point. But if you're really expert at something, you know you don't fucking know.
Yeah. Well,
that's the honest, like, if you reach and talk to the highest level expert, like, they will know more than somebody else, but they will also understand the limit of their expertise knowledge.
So here's the thing, about the experts.
People are believing them as absolute fucking truth. No, they just happen to know more of the subject matter here, and they can be wrong too. And someone who reached a level of expertise can tell you that expertise is just like.
No, I get it. But here's the thing. I'm running a government. I'm in control of the government.
Yeah.
This expert, the doctor, the frontline doctor, is telling me one thing. This expert, the pandemic person, is telling me another thing. This expert, the economic person, is telling me another thing. This expert, the psychologist, is telling me another thing. The problem with COVID is that they only chose to listen to one type of expert and ignored everybody else.
The rest.
You dickheads need to consider everything. You're running a fucking country, okay?
Yes.
Fuck you.
So here's the thing. Yes, like that's why wisdom is important, right? Just like there's intelligence and then there's wisdom, you know? And then intelligence can create a nice tool. And it's got the ability to create something. But wisdom is the ability to like know, is it even necessary, whatever the fuck it is that we created? And then if we use it, what's the effect of it, not like technically, but like long-term and socially and whatever. So everyone is just reacting to one expert, and then like no one's looking to like the expert of like, okay, well, how's this going to affect the world? If we react to this, we save people, but what's the game plan afterwards, right? Small business. And then I think they really need to like, you know, like, and then sometimes the expert can just can lose themselves into that one world.
Yeah.
And that one truth. Yeah. But that one truth is not the ultimate truth to everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, you know, this comes to the Black Lives Matter stuff, the pandemic stuff. is we as a world have built, that we know of, the most civilized technology. Like, it's the best we've ever done as humans. Again, maybe there's some hidden thing that got wiped out and we don't know about it. But right now, the way people are acting, regardless of whether it's Black Lives Matter, the COVID thing, is even if our systems are corrupt, because I believe they are, I think we can agree on
100%.
that, and there are things that are not being done well, if we keep listening to fear and mob rage, I think we're in a very dark next 20, 30 years. And I feel like the only way out of it is a war with China, because that's the only way these governments know how to get out of. We've completely fucked up our economy. We need to go to war. And you're going to see the systems collapse, and the people who aren't training martial arts and firearms are going to be totally fucking. Now you're going to know what fear is, you motherfuckers. Because you know who's going to be able to survive is the people who know how to take care of themselves physically, mentally, and in all ways self-defense for. And it's going to completely collapse. These governments are going to not know what the fuck is happening. They're like, oh, we know what we're doing. You don't know what you're doing. It's like, guys, you're losing control. It feels like you're losing control, guys. I feel like maybe you should stop doing this, because I feel like things are losing control a little bit. And I don't mean that in, because people will be like, oh, that always happens. We always feel it's like, I don't know, man. Right now in the States, you have Republican states straight up saying, fuck you, Biden, creating their own laws and completely ignoring each other. That feels like destabilization to me. Just a little bit. They're ignoring each other.
Yeah.
And the policies of defunding the police have been a disaster. Crime went through the roof.
Dumb. That's just.
Maybe you should stop doing that. No, we have to because of the angry.
What do they want?
Yeah.
Like, you know what's defunding would police do? Would just get shittier police that will be fucking power tripping, man.
Yep. And the violence. And I know a lot of police that are just retiring en masse. They're all leaving Democratic states. Seattle has 200 less police than they need. They're just leaving, going to Florida.
Especially when, like, you get all these people telling them, you got to be confrontacious with the, like, whatever. I'm like, great. That's how you get shot, man. Treat them as a human being. Some of them are obviously having a shit day. A lot of them are power trippers. But if you see them as a human being, you should be fine. But that's not what's happening.
And, you know, like,
media's
going
teaching
back
us to
to
see
that,
them.
On that, if people will often criticize, well, when a white guy goes on a mass shooting, the cops don't immediately shoot them. And and that's not always true. More white people get killed by cops than black people, factually. It's just not like patable in the media. The cases that people point at, I'm like, hey, when the cops actually showed up, what did the shooter do? It's often drop the guns, hands up. Versus the people who get confrontational, they get shot. Because the white people who are confrontational, guess what? They get shot. You don't see it in the media. Now, should they be taking them to Wendy's or McDonald's afterwards? No. Why the fuck are you doing that? But the difference of why they got shot or not is confrontational. Now, are there racist cops out there? Absolutely. 100%. Is it most of them? No. But my whole sort of point, what I was trying to get at, is that if we keep listening to the rage and keep listening to the mob, and we're not considering and weighting all the experts' opinions validly at the same time, the experts, listening to every side, we are going to destabilize the world that we have established post World War II, and I don't know what it's going to look like. I think the only solution, this is very like ethereal, existential, is we need to go back with the internet. We need to go back to small city states or small states, because this whole big country thing ain't working. It's not working.
No, it's not. Because first of all, the world is fucking different. Different places, different people, different subtleties. It's one thing I've noticed. Our whole conversation today was like, well, depends on the person, depends on the culture, depends on the thing. And then that's the ultimate truth.
Yeah.
It really, you can't have one thing governing everything.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I think we can say the evidence has shown the giant governments with massive land areas, it just doesn't work. And I'm optimistic that blockchain technology, again, my knowledge of it is limited. It's super complicated. It gets to a point where like I get a general idea and I'm like, okay, good enough. I think the blockchain economy, where we don't need these giant centralized economies anymore, is the future. So I'm hoping that we can get to that point. I don't know what the path to that is. I have no idea. I'm hoping that, you know, when I have kids, the world isn't a total clusterfuck, but I can give them the skills to survive and succeed, and so that the next generation is better.
But it's just a cycle, I guess. I see this meme where like the old generation, like they fight for something, and then you have a good time generation, and a good time generation raises a weak generation.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
People deny that. I've talked to people, they deny it. They deny it. I know, but their argument is always
they're from the weak side.
Yeah, right. The argument is history doesn't repeat itself, and what they mean when they say that is history literally doesn't repeat itself. Because we can't fuck with time travel that I know of. So if your stance is it can't literally repeat, that's why they say it rhymes. But my thing is, you know what hasn't changed much? It's human beings. Like, we may think that our behaviors are so much more sophisticated today than they were 50 years ago. The actual fundamental behaviors haven't changed that much.
People just as selfish. Yeah. People just as ego. Back in the day, you can hide it. You can hide it because there's limited on people knowledge. Now it's like
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. You can see there's nothing to hide. Maybe it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, and hopefully it's time to adapt. Maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, and you're seeing, and people are like, it's not a woke cancel culture, it's an accountability culture. And it's like, well, that aspect, I mean, I think those people are lunatics who say that, but they have a point. It's that the people who are assholes are now, hey, you're an asshole. But my thing is like, listen, everyone around them knew they were an asshole. And you all you didn't, so what the fuck are you talking about? You all allowed this person to keep being an asshole. It's now that it's public knowledge, you're all turning your back on this person. I think those people are just as shitbags as the person who allowed. Because if I see shit as a human, I'm like, no, you cannot do that. But that's why people have a problem with me. Because if you're going to fuck around or bullshit me, I'm going to like, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, you're a jerk because you weren't given permission to call out that truth yet. Okay.
Know, right?
It wasn't politically correct yet.
Now,
3 years later, now it's a good time to call them that.
No, why do mobsters, like gangster gang, why don't they do hits anymore in North America? The answer is it's too public. It's too hard for someone to get evidence with the camera. They admit it. It's like, we don't do it anymore because of the fucking cameras. That's why the smart gangsters went clean, right? So there's a validity. Yes, it's a what's it called? Yes, you're keeping people accountable now. But I'm sorry, you screaming to get someone fired that just said something on the off cuff with no history of bad behavior is insanity.
Pure ego.
Pure ego. Guy with bad behavior, that's a different thing. Like Harvey Weinstein in the you all knew. You motherfuckers all knew he was doing that. You all knew. So shut the fuck up.
Don't act like whatever. You went there. You went to this island. That's the weirdest thing. Like, we all know he didn't fucking kill himself, but it's like the fucking emperor's clothing. That's what it feels like. It's the most powerful spell in the world. It's like the best fucking spell. It's like, guess what? Everyone knows. You talk to a little kid, a fucking 5-year-old, they'll be like, well, it'll be obvious he didn't do it, but we have to believe it. Like, the narrative is that he did. The funny thing
for
is,
like an average person. Just to clarify, the average person, right?
Yeah, average. Everyone knows he didn't kill himself. And then there's some meme that's going on for that. And if you're just like stupid lay people, even highest level, like reading into it, it makes sense he didn't do that. But if that's the truth, is that he did.
Who are we talking about now?
Scott Epstein didn't kill himself, but he did.
Oh, Jeff Epstein. Jeff
Epstein.
Oh, I think you misheard. I was talking about Harvey Weinstein, who's the guy who was like basically getting actresses to sleep with him in order to get roles.
Or that motherfucker too. Yeah.
No, so that's a guy everyone knew. Now, Epstein too, everyone knew he was a freaky creep. And they all hid it. Right? Apparently, that's the real reason apparently Bill Gates is getting a divorce. Because the wife actually filed divorce proceedings when she found out he was
on that island, right? So she fucking knew.
And the reason why they waited so long to actually do it, make it public, I think it was something to do with they're waiting for one of their kids to be old enough. But she'd already filed it a long time ago. So it has nothing to do with the vaccines. It's to do with
time delay. Yeah. What do they say about magic? Yeah. You do your moves far away from what the actual cause is. Or
here's a thought. Everybody know Bill Gates is an asshole. Bill Gates was always an asshole. Him doing all this is his humanitarian stuff. It doesn't take away from the fact that he as a person is an asshole. He was an asshole when he was a teenager. He's an asshole now. That has never changed, guys. I'm just saying.
Was he? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't know much about Bill Gates.
Business policies. He's getting, like, Microsoft gets sued all the time now because the way he went about business is he was just predatory. He's like what Zuckerberg, I think, is copying Bill Gates' business practices. Is if you're a competitor, I'm gonna buy him out. Simpsons made an episode of this once. Buy him out, boys, and they smash his computer. He's just super aggressive. If you're better than him, he'll steal your ideas or buy you out. And then he just historically he's aggressive. very not so nice human being, right? People have said this about Bill Gates. People have said that it's about Steve Jobs. People have said that about Zuckerberg. People don't say that about Elon Musk. They're like, yeah, he's intense. It's Elon Musk, but you know what? He's not a total piece of shit. People say things like people don't like Zuckerberg. People who've worked with Zuckerberg don't like Zuckerberg. People who've worked with Elon and know Elon, they're like, oh no, man. Like Elon is really giving
He's just
up his
special.
soul. Yeah, he's special. They're like, he's giving up his soul for this, man. He's a good person. But it's like, hey, man, these people were assholes. They were always assholes. We just tolerated it because they were doing something for us, right? It's like, what's the difference between eccentric and a crazy person?
Money.
That's it. They're no different before now. They're just as crazy or whatever. They have money. Oh, they're eccentric. No, dude, that's a fucking lunatic. Now
I want to be eccentric.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm just crazy right now.
It's like I have to be vague because people might know who I'm talking about. I know somebody who's a martial artist, and I'm giving them advice saying, listen, I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to cut you the shortcuts, how not to make the mistakes that I have made that have put me into some of the problems that I'm dealing with to this day. This person respected me, okay? And we had a good agreement. Then they made friends with some people with money. And some people with money want to open some gyms. Who do they start listening to now? Me, the broke-ass martial artist who's saying, hey, listen, don't make these mistakes. They're not going to get you anywhere. Or were they listening to the people with the money who made money with nothing to do in the martial arts community? Who are they listening
I'm sorry, my friend, but I'm going to have to go with the guy with the money. I got kids to feed and then future university bills to pay for.
Correct. How do you think it ended up for the person that I was giving advice?
McDojo-y?
It didn't
Or it doesn't have
well.
it anymore?
Doesn't have it anymore. Because when the people with money saw they weren't getting what they thought they were, they threw them under the bus. And I said, listen, I was loyal to you until you fucked me over. Because you fucked me over.
That's how a lot of shitty movies are made, man.
Now, this person has a history of this, is they were following the money always. And it had to do with ego. Because they were like the bum of the family. And the family didn't respect them for being a martial artist. And they wanted to prove themselves so bad, they didn't understand that the path is a journey and it takes a long time. There's two ways to make a lot of money as a martial artist. You become a champion and people come to you for the name, or you dredge it out for 20 years and build a good, solid school. Because almost everyone who starts a school is broke for the first 10 to 15 years unless you go McDojo. And I am not doing that. And anyone with integrity is not doing that. But it takes 20 years or so because you need to build up your students so that you are not the only expert there. Or you become such a world champion that you attract those people that I don't need to spend 10 years developing.
But like, that's not everybody.
It's not everybody, right? And people don't realize that. Can you make millions running a martial arts school? Yes. There's a few people in Vancouver who've done it. Partially because they're around the right people and have the right advice or have some money already. But if you start with nothing, it's fucking hard, right? And it's harder in a place like Vancouver than, say, New York or LA, where there's so many people. Like, you could be a shit gym and still get 150 students, you know?
Here, we have to fight for what's little out there.
Right? And so this person wanted to listen to the people with money. John, you don't know what you're talking about. They have money. I should trust them. I'm like, I'm seeing what's going on here. I'm like, they're not giving you good advice. They're not. They don't know what they're doing. And when I'm like, hey, saying stuff, they're like, this guy's an asshole. You need to get rid of him. I'm like, well, I'm still here and none of you fuckers aren't in the martial arts world. So who was right? And it's not about right. I cared about this person. People with money don't. And they think they do. Like, I'm friends with them. It's like, no, man, you're entertainment for them. For these wealthy people. You're entertainment. You're nothing more than entertainment. They may be nice to you.
Or a project.
Yeah. Some of them are not, they're not horrible people. They're nice. Some of them are not nice people. And it's like, you're
like everyone.
You're entertainment for them. You're not really their friend. Because in the end of the day, if you're not producing, they pull the plug. They're like, yeah, I lost $100,000, $1 million. Okay. Plug's gone.
Next investment.
Next investment. And this person just could not understand why I was saying the things I'm saying. I'm like, I'm not seeing why. I'm like, why are you hiring all these people? You can't afford it. Yeah, we can. Here's the budget. Man, It needs to be you and maybe one other person and develop a school. No, they're like, no, hire everyone, spend all the money. We have the money. Here's the budget. I'm like, this is going to be a disaster, man. And it's in the end of the day, it's rush hour. Follow the rich white guy. Like people follow the money. People follow money.
So they just like overstaff and then like treat it like a giant corporation without the backing.
Yeah, that's what happened in this particular case I'm thinking about. But this happens all the time. Let's say COVID, everything. I'm an individual who wants to survive. Who am I going to listen to? Whoever gets me the money, whoever's going to make it so more paycheck comes into me, whoever makes my business succeed most, whoever makes this and that. People actually don't care about the truth. The reality, it's in the end of the day, what's going to pay my bills? That's really what matters most to most people. How am I going to survive? And you see this in voting. You see this in decision making. You see it in COVID. A lot of people with COVID are like, I just want to go back to normal. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if you say that, you're a fucking selfish prick. Because you don't actually care about that everyone is being fucked over or all those businesses that went down. You just want to go back to normal, right? If that makes me the asshole that's for saying the truth, that's the truth.
Yeah, you are an asshole, man. You should go to hell.
I know, right? Jews don't believe in hell, so I'm good.
You and your big mouth.
and people act like they're more altruistic than they're not. And I don't see it. I don't see it. Because otherwise we
don't like fake morals, man.
Yeah. I was like, we didn't need to shut down the economy. I'm sorry, we did not. But you want grandma to die? No, that's not what I said. I'm saying we did not need. Now, how many people are out of work? Because for them, their life is over now. Well, they should just deal with it. Well, then you should just deal with your grandma dying. See how the logic works? Like, fuck you. Like, and it's just like people are being insane because at the end of the day, it's just them. I'm feeling anxious, so you need to do this thing. No, that's your problem, dude. Let me do my thing. Leave me alone. It's that mob mentality is ruining everything. And the people at the top are just doing what you said, sleight of hand. Hey, look over here. Yell at that thing. Hey, look over here. Yell at that thing.
There's so many moves they can do right now, man. They can run around with their dick out and no one's going to call anything. Everyone's too busy calling each other out.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to practicing normal jiu-jitsu, and I believe it was safe. After a first month of COVID, I'm like, yeah, I think it's safe. I really do. If you're under 40, it was safe. If you get COVID, hey guys, just make sure you're pumping vitamin D and staying healthy. And if you do test positive, be respectful and stay away for a week or two from everyone. And then that's it. That's according to science. And yet we're here where we are now.
We're in a battle where you have to pick a side, and it's not a gray side. And in this extreme, and if you don't have one, you're enemy of the other. And that's my battle.
And for me, if this is the way we're going to allow ourselves to get played, because we're getting played, then you better have the skill set to survive when this goes sideways, because this is going to get sideways, because the internet has opened up.
And not just physical skill set or self-defense skill set, like self-awareness skill set, and like kind of like, I don't know. It's weird, man. It's fucking weird.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, like, we're in Vancouver, right? What's the biggest... normally, what would be the biggest calamity that could happen to Vancouver is an earthquake, right? It hasn't happened, but it could. It could happen anytime. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in another 100 years, but it will happen. You ask people, how many people, hey, do you have enough supplies just to survive 3 days? Most people's answer is no. Could you supply? I mean, my thing is, I understand how the kind of governments work here is you need 2 weeks at least. Because if shit hits the fan, you need to be able to survive for 2 weeks. And if they can't get shit back together in 2 weeks, we got a New Orleans situation here where you're on your own for a year, right? Because if they can't get it back in order within 2 weeks, they've basically failed.
They can't do it.
They failed to handle the situation.
Yeah.
Right. But most people are like, no, that's paranoia. It's like, no, listen, you're in Vancouver. It's a legitimate thing that could happen in your lifetime. You're not even prepared to deal with that. How are you going to prepare to deal with if the inevitable? Oh, I hope it's not inevitable, but if the governments keep doing this shit and the internet keeps showing us, hey guys, we can see what you're doing now, and then it all collapses down, how is everyone going to handle that? I just don't think it's going to go very well. The toilet paper wars should have shown everyone how badly people react.
See, here's what I think is happening, and we have the technology now too. Before, like, they just had, because of how technology was and how they can just only spit news shit. You know what I mean? There's only limited information they can spit that the general public can handle, right?
Yeah.
and the mentality is still the same fucking shit. Like, I don't know what kind of decisions they're making and why they're making those decisions, but we have the technology now for the people to be part of that decisions, or at least to see what's happening, what deals they're making. And I think because we're not having that, then there's obviously going to be two conflicting groups, which is happening now. Maybe that's what they want, like to fight each other.
Yeah, because if we're fighting with each other, I can't pay attention to your corruption.
Yeah,
you motherfucker.
Exactly. And then the info, like will easily, everyone will go against it because they have to get the info. They have to hunt it for themselves, and then you can go, oh, you got your info from like not the same place I got it, so obviously you're fucking biased on one side. Like it doesn't matter what it is, and it's like everything is. But I'm just complaining like the young kids. They should be like this. Well, obviously not. There's people in power that's come into play, and then it's actually our job as people.
We keep voting in idiots.
But it's our job as a people somehow, and I think people are kind of doing this now with podcasts. We have to empower and educate ourselves now.
Yeah, which
can be dangerous. It's a good thing, but also a dangerous thing because then people can empower and dangerous themselves with like wrong ideas as well too.
That's why, and again, it depends where you're born in the world will change what your baseline knowledge is, and people just have to accept that. It's not privilege. Fuck off with that. It's, hey man, if they're from that country and they come here, they can learn just as much as me. Or if they can build a school, or they have the internet now, man, kids in Africa have the internet with less restrictions for data than we have. For fuck's sake, they can get more unlimited data and shit. Like they can see this information, and what you have to do is teach people how to critically think.
Yeah.
Hey man, was this study done well? Hey man, like, should I only be listening to this person? Like, do I understand enough?
It's hard. The media don't want people to critically think, man. They're fucking called like dangerous people or like, or.
But again, if I'm critically thinking and then I throw in that fucking flat earth thing, it's like, oh my God, you just lost people. Like, I don't understand.
Obviously they don't have awareness, right? They probably went to the same school that Diego Sanchez's coach went to.
Yeah. And it's very like, nobody's going to be 100% perfect in what they say, and we need to stop expecting people to be perfect because nothing is perfect. And they could, if they're just talking like we're talking, it's just a free exchange of ideas and thoughts. And of course, people are going to say things that you don't like or do like, but if you're like, they said this one thing, it's like, no, now you're not listening. You're not actually having a conversation, right?
So you're saying generally we need, for us to progress, first thing we have to do is put our ego into check to learn how to listen.
Which I'm horrible at.
I'm talking about everybody.
Yeah, you have to, if you only ever get your sources from one side, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You have to look it up. Like again, I'm center right. I have the Young Turks on my Facebook page. I hate them with a fucking passion. I think they're fucking
But you have to listen to them.
But I have them on my Facebook because I want to see what are they saying. I don't like listen to all the videos. I get the general idea. I keep things, like I have RT that's blatantly anti-Israel. They hate Israel. And I'm like, well, I see all the anti-Semitic comments on their page. It's disgusting to me.
But you have to listen.
But I want to see what they're saying. And I want to actually see what's out there. Now, people will
Especially
say...
if you want...
Yeah.
If you want to have an argument against them, you got to listen. You can't just assume.
I got to know what you're saying. I got to know what you're saying. Otherwise, how can I understand your argument? And most people aren't doing that. And then when you tell you, listen, you purposely have to add stuff on your Facebook that you don't like because of the way the algorithm works. If you keep clicking on cat videos, all you're going to see is cat videos.
Yeah. I don't want all my friends just preaching one side of the thing too. Then I'm fucking going to be left blind to whatever that side I'm on.
Yeah.
I want my friends to argue. I don't want them to fucking hate each other. I want debates. I want someone to have this idea, and I want the other person to have the idea, and I want them to run with it. Because then they're doing the research for me.
And I think it was on your Facebook page, I don't know, a while ago, I engaged on someone making a comment about something. And whoever it was actually having a conversation. And they were kind of like, I don't want to, and I'm like, dude, you realize you're having an actual conversation right now. And I've learned to pick and choose who I talk to. Like, I'll start something, and if I can see they're not trying to have a conversation, it doesn't matter who they are. Then I just stop. And there are people out there I know. It doesn't matter what evidence or what I say. They're gonna stay hardline. I'm not talking to them.
They have their point, and then that's it.
Yeah, and if I'm like, hey, this person gonna have a conversation, unfortunately, a lot of times when I'm like, hey, you're having a conversation, this is good. They're like, no, this is the internet. Like, I don't want to anymore. And I'm like, God damn it, I got one finally. It's like, no.
It's hard. I can be one of those people too. It's just like but it's that's the thing too. It's like we have to shut up. There's a lot of frauds out there.
Yeah, a lot.
But because of that, there's actually people out there who wants to say something and have something to say, but then they get shut up too because one person was more louder than they are and have a bigger footprint than they are, or they're just too timid and too whatever to themselves.
Yep, pretty much. And then you get people like Gordon Ryan are just shit talking everyone, and now he doesn't even bother with social media because they keep censoring him, and he's like, "Fuck those clowns."
He's actually a nice guy, man. I just laugh. People hate him. I mean, he's the nice fucking guy in the world. That's just his thing.
Well, I think that brings it around to a less aggressive topic. Is that Gordon Ryan, super nice person. Conor McGregor, super nice person. Are they awesome trash talkers, and do people hate them? Yes, because people get sucked into the heel and they think it's real, and it's like
they fell for their magic spell, and they're like, they're awesome. Yeah, I love Conor McGregor. I know people hate him, dude. I saw a story. I liked him because I saw a story of him of like some guy who was fucking waited in lines to get some his glove signed, right? And he's probably gonna flip it, and Conor's like, "You're gonna flip it? You hustling?" It's like, yeah. He's like, good man. Give me another glove. How much you selling this for? Because he's so Joshi, he wasn't about ego, right? He didn't care that this guy made money off him. He just he appreciated the hustle.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt him anymore.
Yeah.
So fuck it. Go with it. And then that has a lot of respect for me. Yeah. Like that. Like, I think I'm just cheesy. I like nice people. Well, I like nice people who are really nice but don't show it.
Yeah. Oh, I think enough of the heavy stuff, that we can bring it back to martial arts and discuss that whole thing, the idea of honor and respect in martial arts, and what does that mean? Because a lot of the people preaching it are not doing it. They're saying it, but they're not doing it. Like Andrew Gavao, the way he was acting, is like, you're kind of acting like an arrogant asshole right now, Andre. Like really. And you talk about honor, I'm like, I don't see it. You know what I mean? So how do you think that plays into modern martial arts?
I think it's very important. Like when I taught kids class, is one of my cheesiest lines, and I know it's cheesy and I just have to like own up to it. And I really try to teach more. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility. So my main battle when I teach kids is and I would rather have them that knowledge than any RNC or any whatever technique for me.
Yeah.
Because I can teach them and I can make someone good. That's not a question for me. I can make someone good at jiu-jitsu if they're young, easily.
Yeah.
How do I make them to be a better person and human being? That's my ultimate goal. It sounds so cheesy, and then some people who are here to hear this and will want to have their kids in the future probably like not want to sign them up for my kids' class because I want to be that cheesy coach guy. But I also believe in my technique and my ability to teach technique. So like being someone good is not even a question for me anymore. It's like, how do I just make them into like a better human being? That's like the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's easy for me to do a trick and make someone laugh. But can I have a trick that makes someone cry? Can I be a martial artist? Can I make a better human being, right? Would I want a world champion, or would I want someone that would help somebody cross the street and be powerful?
Yeah.
It would mean more in my heart that I raise somebody that would help someone cross the street and be powerful themselves than a world champion. I like world champions. Yeah. It's good. Don't get me wrong. If you get to fly somewhere, you have your ego checked. Oh, I reached a world champion. But every coach just knows if there's a world champion, that kid was a world champion because he is a world champion already.
Yeah.
Right. As a coach, what's important for me is like, I want to teach, like, I just want to teach someone to be a good person. And then just because they're doing jiu-jitsu or martial arts, whatever it is, they're just going to be good at that if they're just doing it.
Yeah. I think, I think that mentorship.
Maybe I'm just cheesy.
No, you're coming from a mentorship, because a lot of parents are shit, whether they mean to or not, because there's a lot of good parents who are shit. And one thing I've learned is,
don't listen to them. I used to in a kid's class, not anymore. I know they're in it for their kids. I'm in it for everyone's kid.
Yeah. What I is that if someone has potential, it will never come out if they don't have a good mentor, right? So if what you're saying is the approach to honor and respect, absolutely, I agree 100%. Because if that kid is learning how to be a killer, but also getting good mentorship from one
He's
way
gonna
or
have
another,
life.
it's the most important thing. Good mentorship, good guidance, good moral guidance. Because that's, I think, what's going on right now is we had a whole generation of people who did not have that. Their parents were shit for whatever reason. Again, you can be a great person, you can put a roof over your kid's head, you can feed them, and you can still have been a complete garbage mentor. And then you sit there and say, why did my child end up so fucked up? That's the answer, is there was no mentorship in their life to
Yeah.
guide them and grow them.
Because
And
mentorship is not just giving someone direction, it's teaching them subtleties of life. And
Yeah.
teaching anybody subtleties is the fucking hardest thing, man. That's why you have Zen masters never talking about it directly. They always have to indirectly talk about it, because you can never, it's just something that you just have to like experience. You can never tell, you know, you can just kind of guide them through it. And it's kind of weird trying to like help raise like a young kid like this.
Yeah.
I can raise, like, my worry when I was kids class is just like, fuck, am I going to talk to, like, is one of my kids going to kill somebody? Because I'm going to get them to a level where they are going to, no questions. Like, they're going to be good. Because I believe in what I was taught.
Yeah.
I believe in my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I believe in jiu-jitsu. I believe it's good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, they'll be good no matter what.
Yeah.
The question is, what will they do with what they're good at, right?
Yeah. Which that's all to do with the mentorship, I think.
My goal is like, I love it. One of my favorite students is like, I'm not gonna mention name, but he's like a guy. He's soft, very feminine, but a beast in the in like when you move. And I want it, and I want them to. I don't want to change their character. If they're soft person, I don't want them to be hard and be like that. No, I want them to be soft in who they are, but I want them to be fucking beastly. You know what I mean? I want them to be like, you know what? Let them judge you. Go ahead, because it's actually a lot of fun when they do, and it feels so good when you prove them wrong. I guess my main teaching is, don't tell people something, prove them wrong. It's a harder battle. You know, if they say you suck, don't go, I'm good. That's a shitty argument. You go, yeah, I do suck. Let me go practice, and let's meet again. And then when they meet again, it's not like, I'm good, I practice. It's like, hey, I still suck. You wanna just have fun? And then in the end, they'll find out. Like, I don't like to let people know, tell them I'm good. I'll just roll, and then you'll know. And then it doesn't need to be talked anymore. That's why I love open mats. Without open mats, people will just think I'm just the fat whatever. Like, I'll just roll, and then they'll know, or I'll know.
Right.
Or sometimes I go in there, I'll let them know, and then sometimes I leave them like, yeah, I know that motherfucker's good. But like, if he told me he was good, I don't give a fuck. He just told me, but he showed me, and that changed me. Real respect. So like, I want to do it with my kids. I want you to be powerful. I want you to be who you are, whatever your style is. I don't want to change your style. Your style is who you are. I just want you to be so powerful that you can express whatever your style is. Your style can be the mainstream style or the weird style that no one will get. But if I empower you, then you can be whatever you want. Mainstream idea, or if you want to wear your like big hat and then walk that road, then guess what? I want to give you the strength to walk that road. That's my goal. That's what I want for martial arts.
I think that's
moral
a good goal.
Is very important. Like, technique is important. Better humanity. It's like my ultimate trick that I want to do. Like, I want to make someone cry of joy. That's the fucking hardest thing. Easy to make a laugh. Funny, surprise, here's your card, motherfucker. And they're laughing. But like, imagine if I did a trick that like, they're like fucking tearing inside. And they're like, yeah, that's fucking deep. I don't know that yet. That's my ultimate goal. But for martial arts, I want that. I want to like, oh, world champion, win. It's easy. Everyone's martial arts can have that one student and win tournaments. Everyone. You just wait, you'll get that diamond and you'll have that. But to have like that student where like this kid was picked on a lot, and then now he's just like, he's himself. Maybe it doesn't have to be popular, but he's just confident. Oh, that feels so good in the heart. You know what I mean? And then this kid like, oh, he's just himself and do whatever they want now. because I gave them the power of jiu-jitsu or whatever it is power I gave them. And I don't think it's just jiu-jitsu too. I think anything is a superpower. As long as they put their heart on it, whatever your passion it is. Doesn't even have to be martial art. They could be like painting. The motherfucker wants to paint. Everyone picked on him. Then just paint the best fucking painting in the world. You know what I mean? And then that's your like who you are.
Yeah. So if I were to sum that up, it's teach people to be the best version of themselves they can, and good mentorship will change the world.
Yeah. Can I say this?
Yeah.
I want to make a Facebook post about this. My favorite fucking song in the world, and everyone always thinks I'm joking, but I genuinely deep down mean it in my heart. It's like, I believe all the fucking answer in the world is written in this one fucking song. A song by Whitney Houston. Yeah. If we all just fucking listen to it, like I guarantee it, just everyone listen to it and like really saw its power, boom, world's better place. It's
which song?
I believe the children are the future. So lame, right? But like that line itself, teach them well and let them lead the way. It's so cheesy, but it's fucking right there. The children are the fucking future. You know, I thought like, I want to be a magician for adults to try to change the future better. The adults are gonna grow old. They have their fucking shit. Their standards, whatever. Children are the future. We got to teach them, not like give them like more doctrines and shit. Let them find out who they are. And then what really is morality, not fucking superficial morality. And you have to listen with everyone. No, but why are we kind? Why are we kind? Why should you be kind? Like, don't be kind. Why should you be kind? And what's this harder teacher to teach, by the way, lesson to teach, right? And what's the benefit of it, right? But like, the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. So cheesy, but like, it's fucking this right there. Give them a sense of pride, you know. And if you're getting old, you're losing that. Well, you know, give them a sense of pride, and to make it easier for us old, give them a sense of laughter. So it'll remind us how we used to be, like how we have visions like them. And then for the old people, like the greatest love of all, it's not like your opposite sex. It's the greatest love of all. It's learning how to love yourself.
It's true.
Not many people fucking love themselves, man. They ego themselves. They love their fucking ego, but they don't really fucking love yourself. And then if you really love yourself, it's so cheesy. That's the only way you can really love someone else. If you're really open to have a conversation with yourself, then that's how you can have your heart open to have a conversation.
Yeah, I think
that's
no, it's all good.
I'm just super cheese, man.
If you love yourself, then it is, or feel good about yourself, it's just a more optimal way of being. Because if you're stressed out and anxious and all this, and you don't like yourself, you're not
happy
being
like
an efficient
you don't like yourself.
Yeah. So.
You're not working at your 100% capacity.
You sound like Lex Friedman. Love.
I hate to be cheesy, but like I'm just 39. I've come to the point where like, you know, I wanted to be cool and shit. I'm not cool. I'm fucking cheesy. This is where I am. I'm just gonna have to like make sure my jiu-jitsu is good and carry myself. Yeah, she does it, and I believe her.
I think that's, you know, because we're coming up 3 hours, and I think that's a really good place to sort of wrap it up. You know, love yourself and good mentorship and children are the future. To cap off all the heavy stuff we were talking about, is there how can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
I don't really have much right now. I'm just like on Facebook, just trying to hide from everyone, but DM me or add Ryan Valley on Facebook. And if you want to hear some crazy stuff, and sometimes I have gold, most of the time I have shit, and sorry for shifting through all that, and hopefully you don't get offended.
But as long as you love yourself, right?
Yeah, deep down, I kind of try to mean well. It's just that I'm human like everyone else.
Yeah. Okay,
so that's my thing. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely.
Nervous as fuck, but you made it so much fun.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, thanks for coming on, and I look forward to rolling you when we can start.
Yeah, let's do it. You know me. I'll be there 100%. I'm down. Right. Maybe we can get Mary Pham in the picture too. Remember that one?
Good. Which one, sorry?
Mary Pham. That's how we actually got to know each other.
Oh, yeah. Some random psycho on the internet was going around messaging everyone and just sending random shit. It's like,
getting schools to fight each other to the death.
Oh, well.
Anyways,
No worries. Oh, well, thanks for coming on. I'll definitely
Thank
see
you.
you in the soon. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Take care.
You're listening to The Warriors Day. Brought to you by Urban Tactics Krav Maga. Turning lambs into lions.